Okay, so again, welcome everyone. This is the October 5th meeting of the Wallala Municipal Advisory Council. As Mary said, there's a shine up sheet over here. We also are somewhat limited with our microphone capacity, so when you do want to speak, please speak clearly, okay? We have audience members out in the Zoom audience there, so we've called the meeting to order. Let's go through our introductions, starting with Melissa on the left.
Henry Mayer. Don Hess.
Robert Youngling.
Zach Hayward.
Kevin Evans.
Mary Wilbur.
Okay, so announcements. We have Councilmember Don Hess is back with us, and then we have an introduction of our newly appointed Councilmember Zachary Hayward. Okay, you want to speak to anything or tell anybody anything about yourself?
My name is Zach Hayward. Yes. I grew up here. I lived here since I was 2. This community raised me, and I lived here most of my life. So I'm happy to be a part of my local government and be a part of change and help in any way I can. And thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it.
On board.
And thank you, Deb.
We have a new member, but we lost an old member today. I don't know if anybody looked in the ICO, but a dear friend, Jeffrey Watts, he was an excellent fellow. He passed away. He was with GMAC for at least a decade. I remember him before 2010, and he was through 2019, I think, or right around 2019. So I just wanted to make a note of that in case nobody's seen it in the ICO. Gave a lot of his life to volunteering here in Wallala along with his wife. So just wanted to mention that. Okay, on our consent agenda, we have the approval of the minutes from July 6th. Those were, I believe, tabled. September 7th meeting minutes are not yet ready. Those will have to be tabled until next month's meeting. We've been able to make an audio recording for Mary, so we just did that today. Okay, so would anybody like to make a motion on approving the July 6th meeting minutes?
Question.
Sure.
My understanding that the September 7 minutes were rendered, prepared and rendered. Your review and theirs.
You mean action minutes, or I think
Of the September 7 meeting.
I asked Kevin if he would pass on something of what we did do at the meeting, but did you prepare anything at all on September 7th? I didn't get anything.
No, I was in hospital at that time.
Yeah.
And so I was unable to attend this meeting. I did not get out and back home until the end of September. I received nothing. There was no reporting for Zoom, so I could not access anything. Mr. Youngling and Mr. Hess have made me a recording. I will get that out. The August meeting, there was none, and so there won't be any minutes to that meeting at all. So I have these two, October and September, to prepare for November's meeting. And I will get.
Mr. Youngling.
Yeah.
Weigh in. I know that you had requested at the September 7th meeting that I can take minutes, and those were prepared. And upon your request, I forwarded it to our admin secretary for approval and processing, and she indicated she was waiting for a recording from you before she processed.
Okay, and that we just were able to get to her today. So
Yes.
okay, so I still didn't see any kind of minutes. Did anybody else?
No, because it went to the admin secretary for
Only.
preparation.
Okay. Kevin on that. So, we'll table that until next month's meeting. Under correspondence,
July,
oh, July 6th, thank you. Anybody want to make a motion on the approval of those meeting minutes that were sent out by our administrative secretary?
and I did correct the name that was misspelled. Thank you.
Did everybody get a chance to review those meeting minutes?
I was absent July.
For July 6th.
So, should we table that again too? And or do we want, anybody want to make a motion on that?
I'm gonna move to
And
approve the
July 6th, and do we have a second?
I'll second Kevin.
Okay. Melissa. David,
yes.
Henry,
Abstain as absent.
Don,
Aye.
Evan.
Aye.
Robert, aye. And we have a voting member actually, because we have, but you weren't at that meeting, so.
Yeah, I'm pretty relevant.
Okay, so then we get down to, our course.
Who said yes, who said no? I did, I caught Ms. Finley. It said
Okay, David, I,
abstain, right?
Melissa and I both abstained.
Okay,
David voted aye.
Don.
everyone, but.
Although I guess, I mean, we do have an alternate here, so. We have to this mode.
Yeah.
Yes. Wait,
Hayward.
hey.
Like the big city.
It's a big city. I've been in hospital.
Welcome back.
Yeah. I'm glad to have you back.
So then we move down to our correspondence, which you'll see we'll also address under 8H. 3C is the approval of tonight's agenda. We probably should make a couple of changes. I would suggest that we amend it to bring the presentation of from the county up to above the law enforcement report. Would anybody else agree with that?
About the lawn.
Yeah. Okay, and with that, any other changes that council members think we should make or need to make? Oh, with that, we should take a motion or make a motion on approving October 5th meeting minutes as a meeting agenda as amended. Anyone?
I'll move to approve that amendment.
Henry approves. Don seconds. Melissa?
Aye.
David? Henry?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Kevin? Zachary?
Yes.
Robert? Aye. You got all that, Mary?
Yes.
And with that, then we can have public input on non-agenda items. Anybody here for something that's not on the agenda, like to speak? Okay, seeing nobody, audience. This is all for the one item.
If you wish. I was just gonna collect more.
Oh, there are some people, okay.
Yeah, there are two.
But those are up under the county.
That's county.
Okay.
County.
So, should we have the presentation then first, and then we can, have you to speak to that, or do you want to say something beforehand? Naomi and Ara. Okay, so with that, we should start our presentation from the County of Mendocino on the Prepare California Jumpstart Resiliency Grant. And who would be taking charge on that presentation?
Actually, county staff, well, let me do a quick
Okay, Kevin.
lead into this. The county of Mendocino received a grant called the Jumpstart Grant that is to help address resilience issues throughout the county. Those include emergency preparedness, community planning and capacity building, infrastructure systems, economic resiliency and sustainability, in addition to health and social services, housing and natural systems and cultural resources. I will give I'm not going to say shout out, but a thank you to our supervisor, because the original list of presentations were primarily in the inland areas, and the board of supervisors added Casper as well, but nothing was really set up on the south coast. So our supervisor worked with county staff and was able to get Travis and county staff to be able to come to a GMAC meeting and give us a presentation on the resilience program. So we thank the board, we thank our supervisor, and most importantly to county staff for making time to give the presentation this evening.
Thank you for that prelude. Where do we go from here? To the
Introduce Travis.
Travis.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I hope you can hear me over the Zoom.
Yes.
Perfect. So I guess just real quick, I'm Travis Kilmer. I know a lot of you or have interacted with a lot of you before. I'm the county's Chief Recovery and Resiliency Officer. I've also got Swen Malela, who's a principal analyst with the executive office here, and Jeff Adair, who is the emergency services coordinator with OES. So yeah, as Kevin alluded to there, we've done some meetings around the county here, trying to get input essentially from the communities on what sorts of projects they think would benefit their communities and make them more resilient. So the county was awarded a Prepare California Jumpstart grant back in 2022, and the county was able to take its grant award for that and hire grants writing staff, grant management software, and basically hold a series of these meetings to get then input from the public. And then the other piece of Prepare California, the larger program, because Jumpstart's one small part of it, and Mendocino County was one of the first 6 jurisdictions to receive a Jumpstart award. There's been a second round since we were given ours. But the larger portion of funds that were set aside by the state are available to be used for the local match share on grants, so that areas that otherwise wouldn't be able to access those grants now have somewhere to get matching funds from. So what we've done with our meetings primarily is really just try to listen to what the communities themselves are looking for, because you know your communities better than we do. You know what areas maybe there are deficiencies in the resiliency of the community. And like Kevin said, you know, it's not just emergency preparedness, things like that. It's also economic resiliency, social services, natural systems, all of those. So I'm not sure if Swen or Jeff have anything that they want to specifically add right there, but really, like, we're just eager to hear what sort of things you think Wallala or the greater South Coast would benefit from, so that we can get our grant staff looking for opportunities to try and find funding.
Who would like to speak next?
Why don't we start with the public? And then
Sounds good. Naomi?
Travis, could you hear that from the audience?
No.
the question was, how much money is available?
Well, so the state has set aside 85 million in matching funds. That's not exclusively for us, but that was the amount of money that was set aside as part of the program. So there's a significant amount, though. There's only been 12 jurisdictions awarded at this point.
The question was who matches?
Who provides the matching funds? So the matching funds come from the state, and we can use that for federal grants and things like that that we go after, so that the county doesn't have to come up with the match.
Gotcha. So this is.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question, Naomi? Okay. Would you like to speak next then, Era?
Sure.
I don't know how many of you know me. My name is Roush and I work for our city. I want the county officials who are here to hear a little bit of a story before I say why it is important. In January, when we had the weather incident here, when we lost power for more than a week, in one night in January 4th, when the roads were closed on both ends of how we get out of this community, both north and south, RCMS became a field hospital. We kept clinic open for 24 hours. We had patients coming in, trauma patients, that there was no way to transport them out of here. Our brothers and sisters in CLSD and firefighting folks couldn't take them out, so we kept them there. Why I bring that up is that not only we kept the patients there for the next 7 days, when there was no power in our community, we became a shelter for many people. Our employees who didn't have power, who had children, elderly parents at home, we opened up our doors, we let them stay, come in. We used our kitchen area for them to cook their meals. And I wonder if that situation, because that situation got better within like 48 hours, not the power, but the roads were opened up. But I wonder if that situation continued for another 4 or 5 days. There is no place in this community that people can go and get the basic services, get a cot to sleep, kitchen to cook their meals, get their phones charged. We need funding to provide those kind of facilities in this community. There are some 5, 6, 7,000 people live in this community. I know the county officials care, but they must remember that those 5, 6, 7,000 people who live here, they pay taxes, they vote, and I hope that the county officials in Ukiah will highlight the need for this community's funding to create with our new community center a space that we can all of our community members to come in case of that kind of emergency, we can go and stay there. So if we don't have anything like that, and it should be addressed by the county. So thank you, if you guys can help us out.
Back to you, Naomi.
So, Travis, are you aware of what the average ambulance distance is for Malala and how long it takes for an ambulance to get a patient from here to a hospital and then return back to base? Well, I'll tell you, it's 5 hours. Imagine how you would feel if it would take you 2 hours to get to Santa Rosa to a hospital. We are in urgent need of funds to help our community. The community center is right now in the building phase. One of the things that we're thinking of doing is establishing some sort of resiliency center. Obviously, that's what we would like you to think about. We feel very ignored and forgotten down here in Malala, Anchor Bay, and Moirina. We know how much money we send to DOT taxes, and we know how much we get back in services And it's that. And it just made people extremely angry. Right now, everybody's angry about everything, but this is something that they are angry about. We do not get services down here.
Thank you, you two, so far. Anybody else in the audience? Could you state your name for the
Hi,
record?
Paula Smith. I'm curious as to the deadline on these grants. Because as Naomi mentioned, and Kevin can tell you, they're in the middle of getting ready to build. And there's a lot of deadlines involved with that. So how long would this money be available? Would it be available readily? We know.
That's a question for you, Travis.
So I believe that the funding for match is available until it ends up getting allocated. I don't believe that there's a specific deadline attached to it. And, you know, for any of these projects that we want to try and implement, you know, we would be looking for other grants. So there'd be different, it would depend on what grant we're applying for to do a specific resiliency task. And then those grants will have their own rules, and we'll just be using the Prepare California as the match portion.
I follow it.
Go ahead.
If there's been private fundraising done, could that be considered as a match for the grant? Or does it have to be another grant?
I think for the purposes of this program, Swen may know better than me. She knows a little bit more about grants. But I think this is purely to be used as match for other grants. But if there were things that you wanted for the community center, like backup generators, we could look for grants to do that and then use this money to cover any match costs of those grants.
Dee, go ahead.
I'm Dee Williams. I'm on the board and at the community center. And prior to the event that was referenced, we did have a warming center. We had a backup generator. The community center offered those resources on their own dime to the community. And with the rebuild, we are looking to be a designated resilience. And on the, we are seeking, grants, we are looking for grants. We have put together a grant writing. So we would be able to work with that as far as if we need to can you say anything that you're on? Right?
Well, I can't. but
We're waiting
I'll-
for
I'll
everybody in the
speak
audience first to speak.
All right.
kind of certain things.
Anybody else like to add to that in the audience?
I'm on Zoom here. I'd like to talk.
Who is that?
This is Jennifer Smallwood, Fire Safe Point Arena.
Okay, go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, so Point Arena actually does have an evacuation center that's approved by the county and Red Cross, a respite evacuation center, and it is, these guys know about it, the county people know about it, we already had a meeting about it. It's at the high school. It has a kitchen, it has a generator, it has water, it has showers, it has all that stuff. We're writing grants with the community foundation to get a cargo storage container, and then to outfit that container and do training for opening a Red Cross shelter. In the meantime, we have been talking to PG&E, and because probably nobody knows this exists, because the last storms, we couldn't access the center because the trees fell on the wires at PG&E wires. And so there were trees in the middle of the road, live wires. And so we had no access to it. And we've contacted PG&E, the city has, Fire Safe, individuals have contacted PG&E and said, hey, we need to look at this. The trees are not overhanging the wires, but the other ones weren't either. They're fairly healthy. The other ones were also, and yet we have no way to use these our center if if the trees are going to fall on your wires. So we got to do something. You got to come out here and look at this and help us figure this out, which they have not done. All they have done is send a contractor out to see that the trees are healthy. That's great. But in the middle of a storm, when the trees are on their wires, we're going to be in the same place. And then the whole area is then once again without any way to have a communication center, to have a place to come charge their phones, to be able to get warm, to disperse blankets, to disperse supplies, to have the county, like he was saying, you know, if we could get generators and be able to help people get those rechargeable generators to their homes that PG&E has. We have all this, but we can't use it if we can't get PG&E to cooperate with us. And if we can't, then the other option, is to contact have the county maybe use some of this money in cooperation with homeowners where those trees are located, unless they're located on city property, and then it's just chop them down. But then we have to talk to, of course, the Coastal Commission about trees, and it becomes this big thing. And so for individuals to do that is a huge challenge, and it's much more something that the county, they swing a little bigger axe, and that would be really helpful if you could, you know, step into that activity, because really this is the only evacuation center in the area, and it doesn't really help Walla when we're all an island, you know, when there's water and trees down everywhere. It's not going to help, you know, anybody but us. But once there is a way to get around a little bit, we have ham operators that work with us. I mean, we have a really good setup, but not to be able to use it because we can't get around the wires is kind of a drag. So as far as your grants go, is there any money? I've had, as fire safe, we've had a lot of requests from homeowners if there's any grant money to help them deal with trees that are on their property that they know need to come down. That's you know, kind of a before the fact, you know, before it lands in somebody's house kind of thing. I don't know, is that money available for that kind of thing? And yeah, and then also to help us outfit our center at all, and the trees. Okay.
Jennifer, that's a question for Travis, right?
Yes, exactly. I'm talking to yeah, you guys aren't going to do anything. I'm talking about the county, but you guys are welcome to use our center if you can get here, if we can open it. It's open to everybody. We're happy to share.
Naomi wanted to speak again.
Oh, wait, should we do Travis as an answer to the question?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. I didn't see him on the screen, so I.
Sorry, no worries. Yeah, so I mean, there are potentially things that we can help with on those fronts. It's helpful if we know specific projects that would assist you in those ways. I mean, the trees, that's fairly specific. For your center, I mean, if there are specific things that you're lacking that we can help with or look for grant money on those aspects, then like we will start looking for money to fund things like that. That's the right kind of projects, and we're building a list. Like I'm taking notes. If people are noticing that I keep looking down, it's because I'm writing everything you're saying down.
Did we shoot you an email or something? Because we're happy to give you a list. We got a lot of lists.
Sure. Let me put.
Travis has been down here before, hasn't he?
I have.
Yeah.
So, I know that fire safe, when you know what a good organization is. Most of the population lives between Walla and Beaver Bay, which is 22 minutes from one area. That's if you can get through on roads, which is problematic. We're looking for another center down here on the south coast.
Ted Williams.
Ted Williams. I think this is a great introduction to the topic, but I don't want this to be the only opportunity. I wonder if GMAC can consider the continued work with staff. The answer is we want every dollar we can get. The county's broke. Federal and state dollars, this is the type of program that will fund projects that we want. I don't think we know what we're. I'm worried that we don't make the right asks simply because we don't know categorically what we're qualified. So I'd like it to be an ongoing discussion where we try every idea, let them say no. Then let GMAC prioritize, rank that list in the order. So if the first item's not available, well, what can we get next? And I think it's this is one of those rare opportunities. If we miss out, it may not come along again for a while.
Sounds great.
And I think,
We'll address that and get a committee going. Back to you, Ara, and then Mary,
Thank
sorry.
you for coming. I didn't see that you walked in, so thank you very much. I think we need to focus on Bylaws. We have 3, 4, 5,000 people. 60% of our population over age 50 or 55. It's not a realistic scenario in a storm like we had in January to drive to Point Vernon for a shelter. We need to have a permanent resilience center here. And Ted, thank you very much. We'll put something together, hopefully with GMAC's help, that Ted, if you can help us with, move that forward.
Thanks. We'll get a committee going here. Mary, as a citizen, you wanted to speak?
Yes. With tidal surges and bridges down, it forms islands here. So we are cut off. If bridges go down from Point Arena, that does have a disaster hub at Action Network. But we have no disaster hub down here, and RCMS is not going to be large enough to function as SAFE. If this bridge goes down, Sea Ranch is cut off from the only medical supply of medical group they have. So we, RCMS services them down there. And that's a retirement community, even though it's Sonoma County, RCMS does. So Walla is going to need a disaster hub like Point Arena has that will then distribute information on islands, how to get in and out of islands, and how to form a neighborhood group and a larger area group, and then the whole island group, in order for when it happens like last year or an earthquake takes on it, we can function. And RCMS is not going to be large enough to do that, and they took that on. Thank you. But this is going to have to happen in full.
Okay, Naomi, then Ted.
That brought up a question for me, Travis. Does Sonoma County have a similar program available to them? Because many of the services that we offer in Walla are offered in Sonoma County. You're used by residents of Sonoma County.
So, and to answer that, at this point, Sonoma County has not been awarded a Prepare California Jumpstart grant award. It doesn't mean that they won't in the future because they're doing subsequent rounds of this. But at this point, no.
Naomi.
So I want to ask you if you're looking to take on this project of being the center of as Ted so well stated, rather than us all sitting here and moaning, if you're willing to take this on instead of.
I'm sure there'll be some of us that will be willing to create a formal committee to tackle this, as Ted was suggesting. Yeah. Ted?
So it's got to come from the public, not me.
Right.
But I think what you're trying to tell Travis, I hope you can hear me, is that we want to emphasize to the state that this is the disaster hub is a project that serves both counties. And we can get letters of support from Sonoma. I know Linda will support it, right? It's a single service for people across an artificial line. I think that's important in the grant application to highlight that the dollars are being spent to serve two counties. And maybe if there's anyone in this room that can help think of people on the Sonoma County side who would write letters of support, we may need that at some point to submit the application.
We can reach out to Linda.
Make a little bit community.
Yeah.
A new community. So,
Single service crossing the artificial line.
We've crossed county lines before, so. Anybody?
There's also an
You think if the bridge went down?
If the bridge went down, they are cut off. And there's no
But
way to
there-
get out of it.
There are lots of disasters that fall short of taking the bridge down that.
True, but if
Things
there's
we
a
can do here to
tsunami,
still help them.
if there's a tsunami, if there was a huge flood and the bridge was taken out by logs,
So would it be appropriate for the council
Yeah.
to offer their comments now?
It looks like it's developing that way. Does anybody else want to talk first before we talk about it?
Jennifer has her hand.
Jennifer, okay, go ahead, Jennifer, and then we'll slowly get to the council here.
Thank you. I just had one more question for Travis. Are the tribes able to get funds for this from this pot of money?
Theoretically, yes.
Okay.
I know there have been some tribes that have gotten awards on their own, not in our county yet. But we're also always willing to collaborate with our local tribes too, if there's opportunities to do that. So if there are projects that they would like to see, we can and do work with the tribes on projects.
So let me just, but the are the one way in, one way out tree removal projects, is that something that you're working on at all? Is that part of this whole thing?
Well, it can be. I mean, it's very
Okay.
open what we could go after.
Okay, all right.
Um,
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Mary, did you have anything else? Otherwise, council members who would like to address this? Kevin, want to start?
I'll go ahead and start. I will give a shout out to Travis and the other county staff, because right after the community center burned, I had a chance to talk with them, and they said that they were going to pound the pavement and see what kind of grants they could find, their resources to help rebuild the community center. So I thank them for that. They were on board right from the start, and we appreciate that. The community center right now is in the rebuilding phase. We're designing our facility. And thanks to input from the community, we're able to have a clear understanding of what the community would like to see as far as the services. We have 3 grants right now. One of them was the Jumpstart grant. We have 2 grants, one a public utility grant and another one from the state that is addressing resiliency and resiliency centers. We're looking into that. As Steve mentioned, the board of directors is looking at hiring a grant writer, because we want to make sure we take advantage of every opportunity. We have commitments of trying to help locate funding from Jared Huffman, from Mike McGuire, and Jim Woods. So, and their point was that work in cooperation with our board of supervisors, which we're doing, because it's going to take all of us to get the building rebuilt, especially to meet our needs. And this was an important thing tonight, because we need your input to let them know at the county level and above that we have a need for this. We talked about the storm in January, but all it takes is one vehicle crash, one fire, either up on the ridge route or on Highway 1, that could seal us off from the rest of the world. So it's not just that we have a storm, but it can happen at any time where we have a catastrophic event that isolates us. And as we saw in January, and we'll see in the future, we come together as a community. And it's all of us working together that makes that happen. Yes, it's nice to have the resources from outside, and I assure you, they are looking at trying to find a way to help us out here. But it takes our community to make this work. public. I thank everybody for coming.
Go ahead, Zachary, go for it.
I'd like to echo most of what I've heard. I basically agree with everything. Especially regarding the trees, you know, I manage the fiber network in CRH, and I was out there in the middle of the night when trees were falling like in real time. So I get the urgency of the trees, and I feel like between getting, you know, a good resiliency center in Guala is just a little bit more, but also equally important as getting the trees cleared from Guala to Point Arena, because Point Arena is the closest incorporated community that has resources like resiliency center of its own. So like this community is one large community in itself between those two, you know, here and there. So it's important that we are able to at least optimize the, you know, more assurance that, you know, less trees on the coast will fall. You know, if there can be some kind of standard for a project that we can get with grant money to, you know, really take a close look and work with the Coastal Commission, of course, on clearing trees along the coast itself. We can isolate that single stretch between that and Guala having its own resiliency center, then this whole community will have a good, you know, bilateral relationship between, you know, Guala and Point Arena with two centers and a clearer path along the coast.
Please chime in.
So about a year ago, I brought in a county to deprioritize the portion of dead tree removal. Meaning, don't have the county go after our residents out of personal responsibility, take down dead trees and fall on houses. So we've done our part. You're right, it's the coast that's an issue. The county is currently involved in a local coastal plan update. That's the right process for declaring tree removal not be development. Today, you need a permit because it's considered development. So you need a coastal development permit. Well, we all know removing a dead tree, arborist removing it creates a lot less damage. And so we have this opportunity to policy. So GMAC should be involved in that process to articulate that for the whole coast, especially the south coast, we don't want trees to require a CDP. But it may be appropriate to get Travis working on funds to do the clearing once that change is applied to the LCP. Right now, we're blocked. The moment that block is removed, it'd be great if we had a lot of public money to assist landowners to remove the dead trees.
Thanks, Ted. Council members, anybody?
Travis, I have a question. We've talked a lot about more acute disasters, which I think are and ought to be the priority. But we all know drought is also a disaster this community is susceptible to. You know, have much storage, and in drought years where we've run up against the pumping capacity. I know there are more water-specific grants out there in the world, and also I know that we have trouble getting them because we don't have a great matching body for those. And I wonder if this is the kind of grant that would also extend to water projects, especially water storage projects.
Yeah, I think that water storage projects and just sort of streamlining the water systems that we do have are things that we could go after with this. So at least for the match portion.
The only problem with water security around here is that the grants for public water, private water systems, is there any money for that?
I would have to check on that aspect. I will write that down though, and let's see what we find.
Yeah, that's been a difficulty in the past.
Perhaps there's money to convert the public water system. Get a blizzard for the investment we need.
Anybody else from the council?
Thank you. Okay,
Oh, David?
thank you. Let me start with the back end. And I totally agree with the LCP update. This is the opportunity to do all kinds of modernization, including getting real about tree removal. The scope at this point doesn't appear to allow for that. And so I'm going to ask a bunch of stuff that's holding in well, town. Not just how to regulate what we call our project. Including plastic. We don't necessarily fall within the narrow definition. A lot of climate change. I'm gonna volunteer right now, if you work with you on that, your partner, I'd like to be actively engaged on in rare way to move the statement of the question. Another thing Kevin and others have mentioned, and Aaron, we pointed out this. You do turn into an island pretty quickly. We're not the only place in the county that has that problem. Largely a function of our topography and a vulnerable transportation. Right here within the context of the conversation, Old Stage Road and that whole ridge network is the backup. It goes down on our line. There's really no other. Stage Road isn't going to make it until the next schedule. As a resiliency issue, Travis, can we chase money to fix Old Stage from Highway 1 because that road is just falling apart. That's the road that's constantly on traffic and it's not scheduled for maintenance until way after it's done. Alligator and so that's a project. And this grant, Travis, fund and action plan. You heard from tonight are a bunch of people who are doing hard work, whether they're in Point Arena or they're doing hard work, but I wonder if we're well coordinated. In fact, we have the capacity to understand who's doing what where and develop a coordinated approach to infrastructure investment, training and operations, communication, command. Once the incident occurs, who's in charge? How will those actions? Pardon me?
Jason's in charge,
All right, that's great. But
and there's no debate about that. He's in charge.
I'm not debating the issue, but tonight we heard from our different providers and approaches, we've got equipment and different capacities. It's not clear to me that everybody understands who's got what.
Southwest Fire Department is Jason.
Great, and is Jason and talking with all of his colleagues, ambulance, RCMS, Point Arena Resilience Center, everybody know how they're gonna act when stuff comes down. And that's the point of an action. Capacity building. It usually takes money. Everyone's up there. So that's a question for Travis, and get some money to help that kind of capacity. Another question. I recognize always a place that has people from two sides arbitrary down. A lot also suffers from the fact that it is not adequately recognized in the U.S. Census. I'm not going to solve that problem today, but there's a long history of the law that tends to pass child. The weather hits it, and we all live here. And so, Ed, thank you for talking with your colleague, Linda, in Sonoma County. This is an all hands grab. And so, Travis, another approach is it's whatever we do here is for two counties, just because there's a stupid line there, but also for the law can use both sides. River joins us. So this is how we approach that. Keep that in mind that we're a whole community. And look for ways to coordinate Sonoma County, even if they don't have a just problem. And then finally, Travis, just want to check in with you. Jumpstart money sounds like state money. I think it's probably oriented to chase federal money, and that's possible even chase other states. Can those money be used to fund nonprofits? I'm hoping the answer is yes, because the coordination thus far with the Law Community Center, profit, doing work in opposition. But I just wanted to make sure that money we chase can in fact be brought to bear with other agencies that are not necessarily government, and this community has to in frankly quite rich in that. Thanks for hearing my comments, and Travis, thank you to you and your team for spending some appreciate your work, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Mary, go ahead.
I'd like to comment on Mr. Meyer's comment about the road conditions. Fish Rock Road was the first road to connect this area to the valley back in the 1800s, late 1800s. It is still a dirt road. It is still the only egress we have out of here in case of an emergency. And it is mostly stable, but it remains almost unused because it's dirt for 20 some miles. If it's the only way out of here for 7,000, 6,000 people, it's almost, it needs county rate. And it's been unaddressed since the 18th.
Yeah, I will let you in a second because I wanted to say something on what Mary brought up, which was very important. I mean, Fish Rock Road is to us like Skag Springs Road is for Sonoma County. And here we
Over Point Arena.
we have Mountain View, Road, and that's the closest, which is
But
Point
we
Arena,
don't have because of the island situation that bridges were out.
getting over the Garcia, right? Okay, good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Kevin, go ahead.
Two things to bring up regarding, David's comments about Old Stage, Tigers. In talking with county staff, the last time the roads were slurry was in 2000, 2001, this is coming from the director. And we are on schedule to have that road redone in 2035. So I may not be there. But that's the schedule, and that's what the county has to look at. It's prioritizing road repairs, taking a look at past records, and identifying those major corridors. And you know, if there's a problem here, transportation, law enforcement, fire, and that's the only way to hit north-south at Highway 1 block. And that road needs to be maintained. The other point I wanted to make, and Travis might be able to, because I know he sat in on a couple of meetings too. Action Network is spearheading a project that is kind of a local communication network. And Travis, correct me if I'm wrong, that they're trying to get all the stakeholders on the South Coast, should there become an incident, to coordinate the opening of Point Arena High School, working with the city manager of Point Arena, working with the elected, working with the hospitals, and trying to have an identified network. So should something happen, they know who to call. And I know that that's that they're looking at putting that together. I don't know what stage they're at right now.
They already just asked for help. They have started putting it together. They have 2, if not 3 meetings in the last 2
Okay,
days.
so that is in the works. So congratulations to the South Coast for stepping up and doing that. But does that address, should we be blocked heading north on Highway 1 or Old Stage? No, but at least we're getting a start.
Anybody else from the council? Don?
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank county staff, and Travis and the others who looked into the possibility of getting this grant money from the federal government, for example, in order to match the state money. So hopefully there's no out-of-pocket expenses for the county, which we know is in some financial difficulties, to say the least. So that's great. And I know the county has a team of people that applies for these grants. I'm just curious whether, these type of grant applications will be a priority. Sure, the county is working on a lot of other things at the same time, but priorities need to be set presumably by the CEO in terms of what what resources are spent to go after what grants. So I'm just hoping that this is a priority for the county. I also think in hearing the discussion tonight is that it's a great idea if we form a committee here in GMAC and then come up with a list of items that we think are really important that we need here in Wallala for some type of emergency or resiliency center. So having a list of specific things that we think are important to have, I think is critical, so that we can share that with Travis, anybody else in the county, so they know what we need, what we feel we need. And the last thing, if you'll indulge me for a minute here, I'm going to share something on the screen. Okay. Can everybody see that? Okay, what we're looking at here is a charging station for an electric vehicle. It's 100% solar powered, does not require any grid connection. And I'm showing this because the reality is this is the direction the state is going in the country in terms of electrifying transportation. So in my mind, you know, if we're going to build resiliency in our community, we also need resiliency to charge vehicles during a power outage when there's no other option to get them charged. So this device not only will charge 2 vehicles at the same time, but there are also outlets on the side that you can use. There's, I think, a single 30 amp outlet and several 15 amp, you know, standard 110 outlets. Those could be used, for example, you know, to charge devices or to run anything that, say, first responders need to run, you know, during the power outage. So this has multiple uses, this type of device. And I want to show you this picture, which displays the county of Sonoma on one side. And on the other side is Sonoma Clean Power. So, and this is in Regal Park in Sebastopol, this particular one. Apparently they've bought 3 of them in 3 different locations now in Sonoma County. But this was paid for by PG&E settlement monies. And Mendocino County has PG&E settlement monies as well. So that paid for these 3 charging stations, solar charging stations. And then Sonoma Clean Power paid for or provided the actual dispensers that go on each side that deliver the electricity to the vehicles. So basically, it didn't cost Sonoma County any money. And maybe we could allocate some of the carbon funds that Mendocino County has to a device like this for a place like Wallala. So they're not cheap, but it provides a service in a power outage that cannot be had in any other way, shape, or form. So this, I'm just throwing this out there as one possibility for something we could look for to place in Wallala, to have an ability to charge a vehicle and also have access to electrical power.
How many chargers?
That's obviously going to depend on how long a vehicle sits there. Now they are level 2 chargers. You know, a thing like this, there's no way it could be DC fast charging. So it's going to be level 2. So it's about 5 to 6 kilowatts of charging power, like a standard level 2 charger. I'd have to look at the numbers to get you something more accurate in terms of how many charges you do. Obviously, it depends on how long people stay there and this kind of thing. But some of those factors can be controlled by the software in terms of how long people use it.
What's the battery support?
battery storage?
The batteries vary. I think there are 3 size batteries. I think it ranges from 30 to 60 kilowatt hours. So it's not huge. But you know, they get charged every day. Obviously, if there's no sun, there'll be less of a charge. Yeah, on a sunny day, it'll fully recharge.
So I think that's a great resiliency project. I would ask Travis to put that down. And your argument is the state is telling us that 2030 will be replaced with fossil fuels. Here you have a community that you rely on the grid, the grid is down. People can't drive to the hospital. Right? Can CLSD, can they take an ambulance? No, they may not even have fuel. But that's the argument. The state has created the situation, which a lot of us support. But part of that is we have to be prepared when that grid is out. So this is the perfect project. And I would ask for 6. There's this dynamic that happens with local government where you ask, you say, can we do this? And you'll hear the answer is no. And if you ask, how do we do this? Like a nonprofit, can we fund a nonprofit? The answer may be no. But if you ask how, it may be we fund the CSD or we fund CLSD, and then, or maybe RCMS, and then they can do a contract with the community center. So in result, we get where we want to go, but we need to ask how to define the goal and then ask how to get there, not get.
This is the next one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who else? Anybody else?
I got one last one, if there isn't anybody else.
Word.
Hey, Travis, just, back to the fire safety council thing. Well, it does not have an established fire safety council that can put us behind our state falls. But to the extent that you can find out if the resilience funding can be used to, go through Mendocino County Fire Safety Council to subsidize danger tree removals down here, that's great. Chipping program has been super successful. It's of course oversubscribed with all consumer chipping. But getting some funds to help homeowners grapple with danger trees would be super helpful. Thank you.
So I got a question to the council members. Who would like to be part of this grant resiliency committee? Anybody else? All right,
How many do you take?
3.
You want to do it now?
No, you can do it.
Okay, great. 3 of you. Thanks for that suggestion, Ted. Okay, so we got a committee just like that. That's fantastic. So
One question, we know, I don't know how committee membership and alternate status interact. As an alternate, can Zach vote on committee matters, get signed to a committee?
Oh, that's right.
So I'm gonna have an alternate.
You could be ex officio, I think, until.
Like a road
Mhm.
committee member.
Yeah.
You can
That's
alert.
As long as we don't go over the maximum, have 3, but not 4.
Yeah.
So if he serves as an ex officio, we're well.
That way you can be a part of it too, and I. Is that what you're getting at, or?
No, I don't, say I wasn't fishing along the line.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure, I mean, there's no reason why there can't be a 2-person committee with a 3rd person attending, which is maybe where that boils down. I'm just not sure whether as an alternate member, without an absence, you can vote on a formal committee or not. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm happy with not voting, but.
Oh, great.
Well, and they're only recommendations anyway, you know,
Yeah.
it comes back to full council.
Yeah.
So if we have a consensus, then, then we just move forward. with that.
Perfect. Great, makes sense.
According to Robert's rules, ex officios don't vote and do not speak at a committee meeting. They only attend. Ergo, 3 voting members can be the committee, and the ex officio may attend but not say anything or vote. That's Robert's.
And
Okay,
the
thank you,
meetings
Mary.
are recorded, so that.
Okay, cool, that's all, fine.
But also to know whether it's ad hoc or permanent committee.
I don't
We can look into that. Robert, why don't we postpone the final, selection tonight? And
Well,
we'll
we have
do our
interest.
due diligence and then come back to the November, because I don't think anything's gonna happen now. Any of
look up the function next PCOs and let everyone know.
We've got interest and that's great. While we have Travis still here, is there anything else we would like to talk to him about? I mean, we've been at it for almost an hour now, but.
Thank you, Travis.
Yeah, I have a question for Travis. Travis, do you know, the status of the application that the county made for the federal grant money for EV charging systems? My understanding was the feds are supposed to make their decision the month of September.
We have not heard back. When we put together application, we were asked to do a start date of January 2024. We have not heard back.
One last question.
Go ahead, David.
Travis, what do you need to hear from us? What do you want? What would be an opportune time frame for you to get a list from the law committee?
I mean, as soon as you can, but not. It's not like we need it before your next meeting or something. I think if you could work on something and have it to us by around the New Year's period, would be fine. And just to throw it out there as well, if there's any just community members or people that want to just send us ideas, like, please feel free to go ahead and, send them in to us by email. I did put my email in the chat, which I know people in the room are not going to be able to see. But another email that you can reach me at is just disasterrecovery@mendocinocounty.gov. So at any point, if you have ideas, just shoot them our way and I'll add them to the list.
And Travis, we can probably post that information on the GMAC website as well.
Okay, perfect.
Their address, so I think that way, if people look there, they see how to contact you.
That would be great.
Robert?
Oh, boy. Okay, Melissa. Okay, thanks for attending as long as you did. Have a safe drive home. Okay.
Nice to see you, Melissa.
Okay, anything else on this presentation, maybe from Ed still or anything? No, okay. Council members, no? Okay, so that will conclude the presentation from the county on the resiliency grant.
Thank you very much, Travis.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, for our agenda, we'll move now back to our usual law enforcement report. Michael, you have time.
Most definitely, yeah.
Good.
Well, good evening. I'm your South Coast Resident Deputy Michael Benson. So within the month of September, culminatively within the South Coast region, we classified for the sheriff's office, it was 23 calls for service. A lot of those calls for service were just from deputy initiated contacts to traffic stops to calls for service from the general public for assistance. There was numerous warrants that were served with the incident we had passed over on the South Coast, and then just numerous follow-up investigations regarding other things that we've been addressing with the sheriff's office in general. To touch on that, the Southern Coastal communities have done an excellent job in relaying information or helping give us, further leads and assisting us with other investigations that we that we're currently investigating right now. I know we've had a kind of fluke in the weather these past few days. It's been very warm over here, but we are kind of starting to roll into our winter, month. So it's time to prepare, make sure that we're ready just in case we do have some sort of natural storm that came in like last year. So just asking people have plans in place and that we're very well prepared. As I live down here in the Southern Coastal communities as well as everyone else, wood shopping is pretty endless right now. Just to try to stay warm for this winter, so. And then we also have the sheriff here on Zoom as well with us.
Welcome, Matt, and you have the floor.
Well, thank you. I'm sorry I was coming down there this evening and I kind of ran out of time. And so I made it to the Manchester Cemetery. Well, luckily I've got 3 generations of my grandfather standing behind me, so I think I'm in good company. My grandfather, my great-grandfather, and my great-great-grandfather are buried right behind me. I hope they're resting gently. We've got a few things going on at the sheriff's office. You guys all realize that we had that homicide on the 10-mile cutoff. We're still have an outstanding suspect on that. We've made 1 arrest, and we've got the information on the outstanding suspect on our Facebook page. Please look that up and please pay attention for us. A couple of exciting things. We're trying out body cameras right now, and so far I'm very happy with their performance. And I think that we're going to continue testing these for just a little bit longer, but I'm fairly certain that we have some funding in our IT department right now where we're going to be able to pick these up. And I think that we're at a time where I think body cameras are a good thing for the public and for the officers. And so I'm going to be working on that with my undersheriff. We've got, the new jail build coming up, and we're going to have to go present some information to the Board of Supervisors. I'm very hopeful that we can get that across the finish line. It's going to be the behavioral health wing of the Mendocino County Jail. Now, also, I've been working with Chief Cervanka in Fort Bragg. Now, we started the dual response behavioral health unit, and we were able to reduce transported 5150s by almost 60% in 2 years. But Chief Cervanka started the CREW unit, the community response unit, and it's another proactive approach to things before people wind up in jail, before people wind up incarcerated over things. And I met with him last week on it. I'm pretty impressed with it, and so I'm going to be doing a deeper dive into this. And Chief Cervanka is a good man. I think that he's going to be a good partner as we begin to look at these proactive responses to things. And a lot of these things that we're doing, I think that we're looking for that ounce of prevention that'll save us the pound of cure. But everything that we do that is proactive also reduces the price tag for the public. And so I'm hopeful. I think it's exciting. I think it's a good way to go about things. And so, kind of this is one of these things where please stay tuned, and we'll see what we can come up with. We're at a dead run right now. We're really short on personnel still. Our jail personnel are coming up rapidly. Patrol personnel, not so much. We are in a bidding war with every other county and every other agency due to a vacuum of law enforcement. And I hope that changes soon. Anyway, I'll answer any questions that anybody has for me.
Anybody? Question? Council? Audience? Mary?
I just wanted to say thank you for getting on top of the homicide as quickly as you did. It's a very small community. I was surprised at how many people at least I know 2 of the people, one who was arrested and the one you're looking for. They both put my roof on last year. So I know who these people are. And I'm sure that a lot of other residents in this community were shocked to hear of it. We're glad to see that quick response by the sheriff, and that it took you very little time to get at least to some of the bottom. And I want to thank you.
Well, Mary, you can, I appreciate that, but you can thank Supervisor Williams for supporting this program that we put in for a resident deputy down there, because Deputy Jensen was on the scene a lot faster than what we would have been had we not had a resident down there.
Yeah, it was really very lightning fast and great as far as I'm concerned. I really, really want to thank the staff and deputies that you're doing.
Well, thank you, Mary. Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for Matt?
See none, no. Thank you, Matt.
Sheriff.
Thank you. You folks have a good evening.
Thank you, Michael.
Yes.
Please feel free to reach out at any time. Like I said, if no one's ever says anything, I don't know anything's going on. Everyone's started to kind of, reach out, and I'm a very approachable person. Feel free to contact me, contact non-emergency dispatch, ask me to transfer to the resident deputy. They have direct lines of contact for me as well. So, but I really appreciate everything that our community down here has done as far as reaching out to me and just continually providing information, in regards to if it's positive things or negative things in that aspect. So.
Stay
Thanks
safe
for
out
coming.
there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Michael.
Good night.
Okay,
Robert, can I ask a question on our next item, the permit review? I know that we have the architect for the Duckham property
yeah,
in the audience, and if there's no one representing Roush property, can we flip that around? And I know Michael's kind enough to be here this evening. And, maybe do him first and then
I mean,
his item.
we could, but I mean, Roush isn't gonna take all that long, Michael. Can you hang on just a little bit longer? You've been here this long? I mean, Kevin, I hear you, but we should have done it right from the beginning. We could have, we didn't, but,
That's fine, do it.
I'm just saying, might as well keep on going down in this order.
Absolutely.
Henry and I, we visited the Roush piece. Okay, this, we got two CDPs, or one is a boundary line adjustment, one is yours, which is the major one, but the boundary line adjustment is rather straightforward, rather simple. We went up to, well, these are both on Big Gulch. We went up to the property, the site visit. It was posted and all that. What it is, as the boundary line adjustment says, it's to reconfigure the boundaries between two existing lots. How this one got created, I guess it was pre-zoning period, whatever, but it's a 2.3 acre parcel that they're reconfiguring to 78.6 acres. And then the other one is an existing acreage of 116 down to 40. So we have the map on that too. How can I share that? I have this,
Is it part of the CDP?
yeah, it's part of the CDP. If you go going down. Yeah, and you folks will all see what's going on here, and Henry, please chime in when you want to, and then we'll get right to Michael. But there's the pole that we're posted on. Here's the configuration that it's. Yeah, this is the point that we went to. After that, it was.
Right there. Scroll up.
And you wrote,
See, there's the two.
This is the old man's property.
yeah, you know the piece, right? Yeah.
I lived on it for 7 years.
Okay. Can you rotate that or no? Okay. But look at the way it is right now. It's like a L shape, upside down L shape.
Yeah, I remember that.
And there's a little thin parcel, 2+ acres or whatever it is. This is a 40-acre zoning. It's straightforward in that they're moving the boundary line, as you can see, to the right and making two conforming parcels to meet the zoning of 40-acre minimums in that area. I believe the one has a building on it still, Michael, you might know, but we didn't go to that.
Yeah.
We didn't feel like we wanted to trespass. We were just trying to get a feel where this was. I've been up to that house before too, way back when.
Yeah.
And the guy named, well, I know who lived up there, and
Charles.
yeah, you did too. Okay. So Henry, we don't see anything. This is straightforward. We could make a recommendation that well, you want to make the recommendation?
Yeah, I mean, I recommend that this seems totally uncontroversial. I recommend we pass this on the recommendation for approval.
Okay. Any questions from any of the council members or even the audience on this one? Yeah, go ahead.
Comment, just want to note, this property is feet, my personal property. So, in this case, on my part, the conflict of interest,
Right,
make that clear to the members of the council, and accordingly, do myself discussion or action.
okay, so, we have a motion basically from Henry,
I move direct.
okay, a second? From anyone?
I'll second.
Okay. Let's take a vote on that. Henry?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Kevin? Zachary? Robert? Aye. Okay, then we'll move on to,
Seconded by
Don.
Dawn, thank you very much.
thanks you guys for waiting a little longer than we got that one done, and now on to Duckham. Michael Baron White is handling that as the agent, Jeffrey and Carolyn Duckham. We had two of us that walked that, I think it was Kevin and,
actually, there's a correction, Don has,
Right.
That time it was actually
Dan,
Dan. So he's on his way to Italy. So I went by the property today. I had a chance to talk with Michael regarding some of the questions regarding the CDP, and asked if he would attend, and he graciously accepted. So without further ado, I think Mike would probably shed some light on the project.
okay, Michael, we're ready for a presentation from you or your
Well,
applicant.
Here basically to answer any questions for you. It's a existing residence. It's on the side of the property, but they want to do a lab pool. It's a prefab unit that sits on the slab, and it's not an issue property. You know, Bishop Pine covered west of the highway piece, which are 90% of that project. The only considerations were geology and chemical, so we had WRA do their evaluation, and then Ramsey Associates that are doing geotech. So we made sure that we were well outside of those setbacks, and the pool in adjacent to the existing deck. It would be about, the dimensions of it would be a little bit different, 40 by 8. But it's self-contained, it doesn't drain. Had a inquiry from the sewer district because it's on the sewer system of what's in the water and where's it going to go. According to the manufacturer, it's completely self-contained, recycles itself, uses ultraviolet radiation. It doesn't need drainage at all, it has evaporation. And so at some point we want to clean the water. And the water may have to get drained for some catastrophes. So there is the drainage well that is located on the site, and is basically a Caltrans culvert from the Gulch activity center where they put all their logs and chips materials. And that's kind of the runoff ditch right there and put out in the ocean. So it doesn't need it, but if at some point it were to rain, and that's so it's not treated water. It's just supposed to.
That drainage ditch on Big Gulch West there goes out alongside another parcel that we handle CDP for, correct? And then empties into the ocean.
Yeah, gentlemen into the house, kind of house.
Right to the left of there, there's a
ditch there that goes over.
right.
And that's the main thing.
So one of the other things that part of this project, they're taking an existing garage and turning it into a workout room. And then they're building a detached garage just to the east, northeast of
To the south.
yeah,
I mean, if you
Angle,
if you were to say how it. Yeah, to the south. So a two-car garage, convert existing two-car garage to a gym. And then add the pool with a deck around it at about 4 feet up. And it'll have a windbreak glass like the existing deck does. Around the sides. A pool facing the ocean. The ocean cliffs are about 50 feet, 50 feet from both development and house itself, actually closer than the deck itself, closer than the new pool. That's been originally done by Brunting and repeated exactly by them. But the new report, nothing has changed. And it's simply these. This is the proposed plan here. This is all existing. Here's where the pool would be added. Here's the property line. And then here's the new garage.
How deep is that pool gonna be? 4 feet deep, that's all, so it's,
Or actually 5 4.
that's going into the grave.
It'll sit on a slab.
So it's above.
It's above ground,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
And the deck will just be right up to where you can sit.
I read somewhere that it's 44 feet long, it's like a lap pool.
Yeah, and this one's actually 40 on the choice.
Like La La Link, except La La Link was in
Well,
ground.
no, that was separate, that's Olympic Lake. That's a full, Jack wanted it. Like his good old days at SC, so it's 72 feet open by 6 feet wide. Single lane. That one was, actually, it was interesting when you put it in the ground, it actually has less impact on the bluff than when it sits on. Because the weight of the pool is less than. But you still have to take the soil. So we didn't. Then you have to.
What is the setback there, 5 feet from the property line?
I think, yeah, it's.
Or 6?
I think it's
6, oh, I see,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's got a neighbor there with, yeah, okay. The deck can be closer than 6. So the deck is at 3, that's why it's not in 6 foot.
I see.
Deck up,
Okay.
so that's why it's.
And the future garage doesn't look like it even comes close to
No.
a setback on that side.
No, it's plenty. And it's fit into some existing sidewalks. And then I had the sandwich thing where the septic tank is right. It had to be 5 feet from the septic tank. No back and forth. The backups for the cars.
But mine's doing it too.
The backups for the car, you can see right here. Here's the existing septic. So we can fit in there and then back up here and get out that way.
That's good, it's gonna have to be moved, huh? Septic.
Nothing is to be moved. And the trees don't have to be cut. Fits in pretty nicely. That's it.
Okay, anybody else question, Mary?
I know that I think demand lost 5 acres in one huge storm one year. And I'm wondering what the year range on the cliff is, 50 years or 25
You
years?
have to do on the coastal with the CDPs and with bluff development. I think it's 70 or 75.
75.
Yeah, the retreat rate has to show that the after 75 years, the bluff could be right up here.
Yeah, that's all I want.
And then the owner has to sign that, an agreement that if it falls in, it's gonna pull it out.
Right.
Because of what happened with all of Carson Bowler's houses on.
Yeah.
Those days are long gone.
So that concludes our presentation.
Okay, thank you guys. Any other questions from the council on this?
I have a question.
Yes.
Did you cover, maybe I missed it, but did you cover how you're gonna heat the water?
Oh, it's heated with coal. But. the
Is there a
backup
reason why
the
you're
backup for
using-
Solar is there, the equipment will take it, provided that the owner.
So you could put in solar heating.
Absolutely. And I think, as I looked at it, it's in all the specs. It's got it working solar. As I look at it now, it's got a lot of shading. The cypress grove kind of existing, you can't pick out. There's some roof canopy that's facing the right direction. To the south, but it's not great. So anything that you put in there would have to be put on the ground. Could be put on. Have to be within
So-
sight of the neighbor's driveways.
So they're dependent on fossil fuel.
Right now, yes.
Do you think that's sustainable?
No, it's not sustainable. I mean, obviously, that direction we're all headed is electric. I'm working out radiant floor systems that are heat pump activated now. It's a bitch. Because we're not there yet. We're actually, the state wants us, just like you were saying, the state wants us to go in that direction, but the regs are making it very difficult for today's equipment to actually comply with what's expected in the performance of these buildings. So we're having to create these hybrids that are part propane, part heat pump, to get it to actually make the numbers come up. I'm in the middle of one right now. Sea Ranch is 2,200 square feet. I just added 18 panels, more panels to the roof design. And then the battery pack is going to have to be stopped so that we can try and completely do only a heat pump rated floor system with maybe the requirement to go to a propane or whatever works. But it's really, my Title 24 guy who's 35 years, he's pulling his hair out because he said what they want to actually get done versus what's the practical solutions not there. Today's industry and the goals of all electric. Unless you have passive solar, which is what I try and do. I can. And then the passive solar ends up being heat sink and then it picks up for what we can't figure out. The other thing I'm working on is just besides stuff. Wind turbines. Trying to now find a wind turbine, put it on a couple of my bluff sites that I can get a CDP approval. And then that will fill in the last piece of the puzzle for a completely sustainable home because nighttime and storm time now. So that's kind of what's we're not there yet. All this stuff we're doing is kind of like almost.
Yeah, but it sounds like you're totally aware of where things need to go.
My first passive solar house. The amount of energy used for that house today, half a cord of wood a year. That's it. No electricity, no nothing. And it's got zone merge panels, it's got a strong heating wall, all that old stuff that, is kind of the beginnings of solar. It's here. And we can use it. It's this coast perfect solar as long as you don't have canopy. Because you got cooling. You got the ocean. So we don't have that tremendous cycling between high heat and low temps here. Perfect. Take a look at my latest additions on LinkedIn house. That's got second zero in the house. So I'm thinking about it.
I can see you are.
getting coastal development permits for wind, I think is gonna be difficult still.
Well, no, that, when I did DOS, I
Yeah.
wanted to do it for DOS, and I said, considering wind turbine. It was a vertical shaft, not three blades, because that murders too many birds. So it was a rivet shaft that was 8 feet tall, 8 feet off the ground, placed right in front of their garage. And I said, how many permits have been approved? This was 2011. How many permits have been approved for wind turbines along the California coast? 3 at that time. And I talked to the Dawsons, they didn't even do anything. Ask solar. Certified greenhouse. So I didn't bother to go that direction. Included it as a possibility. Who's now interested in doing it? Because of the house that I just finished, they wanted it. So I've got people that are lined up to do it now. Just have to find the right equipment. Get that permit and use that as a code. It's silent. It only operates, you can operate it at certain times, but they said, well, what about a bat study? And I said, bat study is a no-brainer. They have radar once they detect the actual structure that they can stay away from it. Birds, the migrations are primarily on higher elevations, and when the pelicans do come by at low elevation, this thing, it's out of the way. It's a cylinder that's rotating.
This is great stuff for future discussion. So
Yeah.
great, Michael. Thanks again. So do we have a advisory recommendation on this coastal development permit?
I would like to make a motion to approve CDP 2022-0042. The Duckham property.
Okay, motion by Kevin, second on that.
Second.
Okay. Henry second. Vote on that, David?
Yes.
Henry?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Zachary? And Robert, aye. I guess just you left to write the letter. And on the one that we did, I guess I'll write the letter on that one, on Roush. Okay.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks again, Michael, yeah.
But nicer to be in person again.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on with our agenda, we have council matters. Under old business, we have the county policy number 51 and GMAC bylaws, review, possible committee for the formation. I recall asking the council members to individually look over the GMAC bylaws and county policy number 51 at the last meeting, and we decided not to have a subcommittee at that time. We also learned that county council and the building and planning department, they're planning on setting up an individual meeting with each of the MACs to discuss their operations. So at some point in time, that will occur. So I'm still kind of reluctant to form a subcommittee on this whole business item. We do have a set of bylaws that are consistent with the county board policy number 51. Some of you may not feel that way, but I would ask that we wait to hear from the county on that. So we've been customarily running our meetings fairly by the Brown Act, and we have a history of doing so. So we're looking forward to talking with the county council or planning department or whatever on that. Kevin.
Couple comments on that. The directive from county council and the resolution was very, very clear. There was no gray area there. It said that basically if the MACs are operating, if any of their bylaws are not in compliance with resolution 51, that those changes need to be amended at their next meeting. It was not, well, we'll wait, kick the can down the road. They were very specific that these are requirements based on the resolution, that's how your bylaws should be set up. And I don't want to go into the details of it, but I really believe that there is a discrepancy between our current bylaws and the resolution, and I believe it would be appropriate to put together a committee, have them look at it, and come back, and not wait for county council, because I can assure you, and I'm sure Supervisor Williams can probably share that too, the county council has a lot more important items on their plate than to come to the GMAC meeting and discuss our bylaws. So I would make a motion that we form a committee this evening to look at the bylaws, compare them with the resolution, come back at the November meeting with a recommendation.
Well, I disagree with you, I have to say.
Right, but we have a motion on the table.
Okay, anybody want to second that?
Sure. And I don't think committees are set up by motion of the council. I think it's the responsibility of the chair.
Right, it's discretion of the chair, but I.
Right. And I disagree. I mean, if you look at item 4 of the county policy number 51, it states that MACs that exist at the time of adoption of policy number 51 shall continue to exist and operate as originally formed. And, you know, each and every year, after a appointment or a reappointment is made, we reorganize and we pick our officers. We've never done it midstream.
But I think that's where the conflict comes in, because the resolution states that at the end of every appointment year, that the council should reorganize, have a reorganization meeting. And I think in keeping with traditional policies, that's usually the end of the calendar year. Both appointments are done by December. And so then at your January 1st or your first meeting in January would be an appropriate time to reorganize.
Right.
That's not to say they can't select the same officers. But what it says is that it is in conformance with their resolution. And I would not want to go in and it was stated pretty clearly that their resolution was set up, or policy was set up to provide guidance to all of the MACs, not just law.
So let's look at that. I mean, I asked you all to look at that. Does anybody else want to weigh in on this? David?
Please. Policy 51, general provisions, 11 general provisions, they include the last sentence paragraph. Selection of officers shall be conducted the first and following appointment or reappointment of members each and every year thereafter. That has now been appointed membership. This is a directive, the word shall not may. This particular provision is not supported in our bylaws. In fact, our bylaws would support the implementation of this measure as it's set in only our bylaws, which were amended in 2020, not at the beginning. And later, driven by individuals on this council party that excluded compliance with policy 51 on that item. So there are other conflicts. I want to note the disagreement, Robert, that you're attempting to support an objective assessment, the creation of a committee, the process, and also in contravening direction by county council to change at the soonest point, at the soonest opportunity, to make sure that the GMAC bylaws are in complete compliance with what in the policy. I feel that working is unnecessary and appropriate, and getting the committee consideration prepared so that we're ready to act efficiently and expeditiously at the time that staff can make their way there. I'd rather be prepared rather than deal with the alternatives of not.
I'm not trying to thwart anything, David. I'm just seeing that two of you are really trying to push something that at best is a little bit vague, in my opinion. Each and every year thereafter, that's what we've been doing. for the history of this GMAC. Ask Mary. And Ted, weigh in please on this, but why you're making this like an urgent item when we have so many other important things. And I'm just saying, okay, I gladly give up the chairmanship if that's what you guys are after, but we have a policy, we have a procedure, a historical procedure that we've been following all these years, prior even to policy number 51.
But if that.
And let me finish. And we never were, I mean, even once this came out in 2016, we were never told we were not abiding by the county's bylaws or our own bylaws. We were just.
But a correction there is that we were put on notice from a correspondence from county council.
Right.
To all MACs saying that these are the rules established in the policy 51. That we need to comply with them, and if there's anything that is non-compliance with that policy, needs to be addressed at the next, if I'm not mistaken, David, at the next meeting, correct? Right.
I see how you guys are interpreting it. Yes, I mean,
that seems pretty
well, there's the other part of it that is kind of, what does it say about the existing MACs prior to 2016? It says that they should continue doing business as they have done so. And that's all we've been doing even since this policy.
But 2016 supersedes all previous directives and policies. And that was stated at the opening sentence, that this policy number 51 will take the place and supersede all previous instructions to the MACs as far as their organization.
Under number 4, I'll say it again, the MACs that exist at the time of adoption of this policy shall continue to exist and operate as originally formed.
So this, well, the existing MAC policy, in instances where existing bylaws or policies MAC may be inconsistent with board policy 1, board policy 51 is deemed to take precedent, and the MAC shall take action at the next available meeting to amend its law or policy. Now, it also says that our bylaws aren't supposed to conflict with or duplicate policies set forth in policy 51. I mean, it's not clear that our bylaws are supposed to say we are going to reorganize every year. We are supposed to reorganize every year according to policy 1. It's not clear that our bylaws should or even can state that, as that would be duplicative of policies laid out. The entire passage on bylaws, no bylaws shall be required to be adopted by MAC. Right. Said council shall make and keep a current standing order by time and place of the meeting. Any bylaws which MAC may adopt shall not dictate or conflict with these rules or statute ordinance resolution providing for or establishing the MAC or government conduct. So I don't know. My reading of that is our bylaws actually did not say that we need to have a reorganization meeting every year, because that would duplicate what policy 51 says. Doesn't change whether or not we do that. Yes, we do that. I would be surprised if there aren't other parts of our bylaws that are at least slightly duplicative. I have not gone through it with a fine-tooth comb to look for duplication between the two. Since our bylaws predate these, it'd be sort of surprising if there wasn't at least incidental duplication. I don't know.
We've gone through our bylaws a number of times over the years. You'll see on the bylaws at the heading, actually they were adopted initially in 2003. Amendments were approved in March and in July of 2010, and the latest was in 2020. Never has I heard from anything from the county that we are not operating under our mandate, or that we have an issue with our bylaws. It's just recently that this power or this policy number 51 has been brought up, that we are maybe not in conformance with it, and I don't understand. I mean, it's not that I don't necessarily want to create yet another committee that we already have a lot of committees, but I just didn't see the need for it, and this was helpful because you all, I wanted to hear this from last month's meeting, is what you all think about this. And,
Well, then the suggestion should be that identify a committee to review both the current bylaws, May 2020, and county policy 51, and make sure that they're in compliance. And come back to the November meeting and make a report.
right, and that's your opinion. And my opinion is I'd like to hear from the county first on whether or not there is any inconsistency or there are issues with our bylaws.
So you're saying we should.
That's what we kind of talked about at last month's meeting.
Isn't the county relying on us to express to them the nature of the bylaws?
Well, so far as I know,
It would make sense if, like, you know, someone done in the house to basically audit ourselves, you know, the whole process. Like, the county's not gonna get that information. We're the only people that has that information. So it would make sense that the county needs us to do the work for them, to then present to them if anything, but it's found. That's just, I mean, I didn't read it, I'm brand new, so. But
Would that make sense?
that makes sense.
you want to weigh in?
Yeah, so I'm really here to support whatever you decide. But I have awareness that how Max will operate differently. And I know that creates a challenge for staff when they go to work for the MAC. Each one is a little bit different. Some want to apply for grants, can't come back, so they should. GMAC, I think, is really operating properly. You guys have it down from the start. There may be some other cases where it's veered a little bit off course. I think this is an attempt to bring everybody back into alignment. That said, there's value in when there isn't any conflict, you don't have factions in the community about a particular project. Getting everything above board so that when you do have that conflict, you don't have somebody showing up and saying, hey, they're legitimate, they're not following the rules. They haven't been. I'd like to be able to say, no, they're following the rules perfectly, and we have proper process, what they recommend stands. So I think there should have that meeting with the county council. My recommendation, since I've already went to and back today for 6 hours, ask for a Zoom. The pandemic really taught us we can do this by Zoom. It's a lot easier to get half an hour by county council to try to bring it down.
There you go. There's our solution. I'll go along with that. I mean, I don't want to create another committee. That's what, Mary, go ahead.
If I may suggest, send the county council the present bylaws. They may not even know one word of it except GMAC.
Okay, we can do that too. I mean, they know it's online.
Look at it, apprise it, and tell you guys, hey, this is out of line. You could do it this way, you do it well.
I will send the county council a copy of all that, okay? And then we'll try to set up a Zoom. Okay, thanks, Dan.
I have a question about the Zoom meeting. Is this intended to be a Zoom meeting during our actual GMAC meeting or separate time frame for that? In which case, if there are more than 4 members of our body attending that meeting, then it has to be a public notice for it.
Well, we would continue to agendize it, yeah. And
so you're saying it would be during a regular GMAC meeting, maybe next month or something?
yeah.
Another approach might be all myself here, sorry. Just tomorrow on that county council, you know, who can't find that talk. They may be able to provide directions for you or tell you. You may have clarification.
Okay.
I wouldn't set up a public meeting with county council pressure.
Okay.
It'll get me down the road, whereas it's just one-on-one problem. And ask them to help.
Right. One of the things I didn't do from last month was I didn't ask county council if there's been any lawsuits against the MAC, and I just refrained from that a little bit because I didn't think it was up to him to even to tell us that, whether or not that's county business. But that's one of the things I didn't follow up on.
So for us not to violate the Brown Act, it would be appropriate for you to identify take the word out, committee, a group of 3 to have a Zoom meeting with county council. And then they can report back to the county council.
Well, why don't I do what Ted suggested first and then try to contact county council first, send them a copy of the bylaws, and then we'll go from there.
Because I think Don made a good point that we can't have more than 3 in attendance at the meeting. So if county council has the bylaws and there is a Zoom dialogue with him with 3 members, then we're fine around it. If we have more than that, we are. So would it be appropriate to establish a group of 3 to do a Zoom meeting with county council, with him having our bylaws and the county policy in hand, and he can tell us what areas are in compliance, what aren't. And then we can report, and then that group can report back to GMAC in November.
That would necessitate forming a committee.
Is it different than, I mean, if you're talking about one meeting, a committee is, I mean, to the best of my knowledge, is something that a group of people meet more than one time to, you know, achieve a certain outcome, whatever. If we're talking about a single meeting, you know, that's just a single event. So would that, you know, make the committee aspect of it null and void? It's just a single.
It's an ad hoc committee, yeah.
Ad hoc committee could be
Versus,
one meeting.
It could be,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, there's no limitation.
But again-
How many meetings they have.
Sure.
I think that's not a bad.
Mhm.
I have 3 people from GMAC, schedule a Zoom meeting, county council. That way, hopefully, county council can find a time slot where he can give us some of his time. Because I'm sure he's extremely busy, so I think we're gonna have to work around his schedule, try to make this happen within the next.
And can I make a suggestion that one of the people in that group, or whatever you want to call it, would be Henry, because he's our parliamentarian. He has a open communication with county council already.
I would definitely agree with that. Henry's applied himself to that, to the bylaws. So, you want me to start off first and talk to the county council, or do we want to, I mean, I guess,
I think an ad hoc committee that may only exist for one meeting cycle, just to make sure we're on the right side of this. Makes sense to me. But your prerogative.
well, I'm
Just make sure he has a copy of our bylaw.
Yeah.
Well, we could send that.
Okay, then, why don't Henry and I take that up then, okay? And then we'll get back to the council after we set up something. Okay, is that okay with you guys?
Be appropriate to have 3.
Well,
That's our standard group.
yeah, but 2 is fine too, I think, on something like this. Or we're making a mountain out of a molehill, I think. But
You have no volunteer brother, it seems like one perspective would be beneficial.
I had a request, and I'm just wrestling with all this because Melissa really wanted to be on anything that happened with a committee, and I'm getting torn in all these different directions on this, and I just really didn't even want to form a committee. But that's why I said, okay, I would limit it to Henry and myself. I've had a request from Melissa. You 2 seem to really want to be on this.
I just want to clean up the bylaws. So
I understand. You think
whoever's
there's
on-
something to be cleaned up. You need,
Then can I suggest that we add David on there?
how about Zachary? Would you want to be on it as a newcomer?
I don't think I have enough context in this. They
Okay.
obviously have much more information on
Okay.
the bylaws. Like, I don't think that would be appropriate.
Would you guys have anything against Melissa being on?
I
She's
think,
not here.
Right, but she has expressed interest in being on that committee, if there's a committee forum.
She's not here.
She left.
I know that.
ill and
But I did have that request from her already last meeting.
My 2 cents on it. It's clearly an item of controversy. And I think that the fastest way to get to the other end of this controversy is if there is involvement from people who think that there's an issue to resolve. I think it makes sense to have a meeting, just get to the other end of this, rather than have a meeting, come back and have there still be some sense that there's controversy, because people who thought there was controversy to begin with weren't in the room. I think
From what I can tell, I don't feel like that anyone's coming from a place of controversy. I feel like it's simply clerical and transparency. You know, I mean, like, I believe in auditing every facet of our county. Like, I believe in like transparency in every, you know, section of our county's government. So, you know, whatever is just on paper the right thing to do, you know, which seems pretty cut and dry from like, you know, if it's protocol to have 3 people from GMAC on a meeting, then bylaws are pretty important when it comes to running this. So it would only make sense just as a super outsider perspective.
Now you're part of it.
No,
Well, I mean, I'm stepping right in some.
I'm wanting to acquiesce on all this, okay? The younger council members, I'd like to acquiesce to, but Henry and Kevin and I will be on the committee, okay? I'll make, is that all right with you? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then we can put this to rest for now. So what is the next plan? We're gonna make contact with Christian with county council and send him our bylaws. I'll send the copy of the bylaws to him so he has them right on his email, okay?
And if you want to reach out to Mr. Curtis.
well, let's do it. Christian, let's do what you're talking about.
I'll send them my bylaws, and that's all I'll do for the time being. Okay,
So then I get you coordinate.
Yeah, couldn't you send him the bylaws in the same email? Ask him what times he has available
right on.
within this month, you know, for I don't know how long this meeting has to be.
Why don't you just include
Half hour, an hour?
me and Kevin on the email, and then
And
that'll just be the.
CC you and Kevin.
Yeah.
Fine, okay. Okay, so we're on to something else, okay? You guys all right with this?
Yeah.
Okay. Koala Services Committee, the Koala Parks Report. We had the recent meeting up at Bauer Park on the 18th. Supervisor Ted Williams was there too. Who would like to take the lead on this?
I think either Zach or I could probably should point out.
Great.
We had Ruth from Woods there as well. You mentioned our supervisor was there, and county staff. Nadia, who's been on regular communication with all of us, and 3 other staff also attended to give us an update of the project and take public feedback. I contacted Janelle yesterday, and she said the RFP for the architect is still out there, so they haven't, I guess they haven't closed acceptance of those, and I know that they will be making a recommendation for 2 by the selection of an architect, landscape architect for Bauer Park. They indicated that they are moving forward. I appreciate all of our electeds' input and involvement, because I think it's going to take all of us together. And a big shout out to Fix Bauer Park. I know Zach's not giving him a plug, but
That's my wife's committee.
but it's Fix Bauer Park has been the best ground grassroots organization to really communicate from the top down. But they reached out to GMAC, got us involved right away as well, and have included us in all of their meetings. So I believe it's moving in the right direction. The right people have the information, and let it play out.
I agree. I feel like, there was a lot of clear yes, no answers that at least I wanted, like, you know, they were coming from a place of priority of public health and safety. And so we were able to get a clear answer out of Nadia, at least, that they declared the tree as number one. And happy to hear that. I was happy to hear that the 2.2 million from the state is not conditional in the sense that it needs to be matched or anything, so it's ready to be spent. So, you know, as Kevin said, we're basically waiting for an architect to be chosen so that we can then start holding, what I'm looking forward to is community input with architects so that we can start prioritizing, you know, what's in phase 1, 2, 3. But as Kevin said, it does seem to be moving along, as long as, you know, Fixed Bar Park Committee and everyone else that's involved in GMAC continues to, you know, press on any step of the way. I think would be very helpful.
One clarification, Kevin, I think you and I read that email slightly differently from now. I don't think that they're still accepting proposal. The way I read it was they still haven't selected a proposal, but they did say they met and reviewed the proposal. So I assume that means the acceptance window is closed. They just are still in the selection process. We're still in the competitive process. It's vague, and my first reading was that, but I think they closed it.
The solicitation closed, never reviewed it.
That's my reading. They said they've met and they've started proposals, and they said that they hope to have that selected within the next few weeks, and responsible. So,
It's the RFP issue, right?
yeah, that's selecting.
Yeah.
Then there's going to be a whole mess of steps beyond that to actually figure out what the work is, source people to do that work. We're early in this, but that'll I think unlock a lot of projects. They've got that all done.
We were itching to get the tree bid on. We already have, you know, local contractor that's, you know, bid of the job. And so once we get to that point, we can actually have contractors bidding jobs in the county, and just, you know, hoping that they will accept someone local, not someone from out of town that charges way more and way less.
I think it depends how they chop things up.
Yeah.
And that's all earmarked for maintenance, the 2.2, right? Not capital.
Not maintenance, for capital improvement.
For only for capital, the other way around. Okay.
Yeah, for capital improvement, so that means, you know, they can fix stuff.
Yeah.
But not for ongoing maintenance. And that was the other thing I wanted to say is, we've had some conversations within this council about reading through the documentation and what obligations Mendocino County was signing up for with respect to the park by accepting the grant money. So I did ask county staff about that at that meeting, because my read of it was they were signing up for a legal obligation to maintain the park going forward. And the response was yes, they are. Also, they had that obligation for 20 years legally with the state for accepting money to begin with. And so the fact that they have a legal obligation to maintain the park does not seem to dictate whether they maintain the park. So that there's no particular reason why that would change.
Seems to be the bigger issue, honestly, after the project itself, essentially because the county at the meeting also said, like, we just don't have a budget to maintain the park. So we have this 2.2, that's great, let's get some work done, but also that's the one string attached to the county, is that the county does have to maintain it once the work is done, essentially. So if they say they don't have, you know, money to do that.
Robert, one thing that was brought up at the meeting was the idea of going with a nonprofit or with another governmental agency to possibly take over the park operation. Another concept that was floated, whether it's in partnership with the county or any other governmental agency, would be forming a nonprofit group like a Friends of Bauer Park that can work as a nonprofit group that can collect donations and can funnel that money to So that would give us that nonprofit connection as well. So there's many different things out there that we can do as a community and as a county to not only get the park fixed, but also maintain.
I feel like it'd be nice. So go ahead. No, you raise your hand. Go.
As
Okay. I just feel like, I think that would be priority A for me as far as like the long-term plan, like here's a solution to bring to the county. You know, so that way, maybe that'll help the actual rehabilitation with the 2.2 move along smoother if there's a, you know, a further solution for maintenance in place. And once again, community doing the work for the county and saying, here, we'll do it. You know, I think that they're, everything would be wise to edit in any rate, like talk about forming, what it would take to form that nonprofit as we're also working with, you know, whomever they choose to be the architect. The job, those things need to happen at the same time. Like, obviously, the book.
hoping that the community can get involved. I saw the wood being chipped up, and you could have brought in a local mill, milled wood, and then use it to build more of, or rebuild more of the structures there that need revamping and redoing. You could add structures as well from the wood that was blown down, whether it was rotten or whether it was usable, I don't know. But a local miller, a wood mill, could be brought in and done that. But I don't know if the county would allow that. I don't know either, but it's an idea that could be proposed to the county to let us, you know, make wood out of what nature has given us, and it won't cost them anything, or at least it will cost them a lot less.
And tools only, volunteers, by law.
And hand tools by law.
Yeah.
Well, I don't see a socket.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm saying for volunteers. I mean, if there's somebody is a registered provider and is paid and bonded and insured, et cetera, has gone through the vendor process with the county, obviously then the rules are different. But for any volunteer, anyone who's not officially contracted by the county or some county agency,
we talked about the prospect of milling with trees we take down, mainly in respect with, we did a walkthrough with the local contractor that was noting just a small handful of large redwoods that are eroding and pulling up the concrete pads and like the tennis courts and the basketball courts. Those trees, if the, you know, this is a big if like it was all legit and we got a contractor to get approval from the county and do their work, and there's local contractors that have a mill. If you were taking on a couple of big redwoods, which no one really wants to do, but if it's for, you know, if you can't rebuild, you know, the concrete pad of the basketball court, that's just gonna erode back up, there's a purpose there. Right. So yeah, you can mill that wood, and our park would have a huge amount of, you know, lumber. Most of those pines and firs that need to go, the 150 or 60 within, you know, the dense part of the common area of the park, that's mostly like, you can't build too much off of it unless, you know, except for ones that are plotted. So there would be still lots of wood chipping and mulch for the most part. But when it comes to those redwoods, like that would be a scenario where that would be super helpful.
And it all have to be stickered and stored for a couple of years to air dry, et cetera, professional, together.
I got a question afterwards too. Go ahead, Ted.
The public comment. Conceptually, I agree. You should make use of resources rather than waste it. In terms of government process, you open the door to CEQA. You're going to have public hearings. Some will be against it. It'll be appealed. The liability insurance for the county from the sawmill. You know, the lumber's not stamped. It's not graded, so you can't use it for structural. Is it the quality of wood that'll last there? So as you go down this path, you realize with government you could do it yourself, but government doing it is a whole can of worms that you probably wish you never started. So I didn't think that was the best that I did as far as the county being prepared. CEO heard this from me, is we gotta step up and be a little bit more prepared. When that grant opportunity became available, we had 24 hours. County said we don't have any staff, we can't do it. I took the 2019 assessment. They're actually my photos. I was out there photographing 2019 because we heard the state had money for parks. So I tried to basically come down the park, documenting all the ADA violations, tripping hazards, detail, right? So I took that in less than 24 hours, chopped it up with the estimate we had, sent it to Assemblymember Wood's office, kind of as a proposal of what we wanted to do. We were told grant didn't come through. And then we saw the state budget and there's the money, it wasn't working. That was around end of last year. And we put out a press release thinking we're going to get moving on this quickly. The contract from the state, so that we could actually get access to the money, didn't arrive until the summer. So it feels like a long time, but in terms of the state process, you know, I think it was June or July, finally we got a copy, we could execute our promise, and then we opened the RFP. So it's going about as fast as it can go. So if we don't think that needs assessment tackles the problems that we want to solve, now would be the time to suggest alternate. I think it restores everything that's there. Right, so if you don't want to move where the tennis court is, but you just want it to be new and safe, that plan is the most straightforward. As I understand it, the only place we get into meeting CDP and worrying about CEQA is the spillway. And so we're thinking, let's do everything else. Spillway is a longer term. Maybe you cross over it instead of fixing it. There's alternatives. But let's try to get that one spent as quick as possible, get the park open so kids can play.
So you guys are saying that it wouldn't be a problem to cut down the redwoods that are surrounding the tennis courts and the basketball court?
I think it'd be very difficult to get, you know, consensus from the county on that. Like
it doesn't make a bit of sense to redo those two facilities without getting rid of redwoods.
I 100%
something to retard the roots from wrecking. I've played tennis on those courts 30 years, and they're just going to keep coming back.
I believe what.
So
things are exempt, placement, minor projects exempt, as long as they do not affect certain sensitive. I think we're gonna freeze down, the county's gonna get it. So they work, maybe more. That program needs to locate. There isn't something. Freezers can ask. That's right. We need to be really aware of the county's obligation. That's perfect. And part of that is public access, legitimate access to interacting with the climate.
okay, then well, I don't know what the needs assessment says exactly in it, but then the tennis courts and the basketball courts should be moved to another location of our park.
Not necessarily, and I think what we need to do is we need to leave it in the hands of the professionals.
Yeah.
Let your landscape architect, because I've dealt with Parks and Recreation in my previous life. And they do have root management programs that can constrain and restrict root growth through sensitive areas. Let's leave that in the hands of our landscape architect. And then they will provide the information to the county staff and the board and trust it in their hands. But I think our input
And was there an expense issue with redoing the tennis courts? Or was there? I mean, that's a capital improvement, right?
Yeah, it should all be fine.
Should be all fine.
It should all be fine.
Wait, too.
I just wanted to say briefly, thank you.
Yeah.
Of course, if you haven't read the success plans, you can pass it around.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
I guess
Yeah,
you guys have it. I just haven't read it through.
yeah, I've got it pulled up right now. I'm happy to, I can email that back to the council.
Oh, okay. You guys don't.
My computer says it's the
I-
third time I've done it.
I thought the Parks Committee I had it, so that's why. Mary, you wanted to say something? Go ahead.
Yes, there's a sandwalk back behind our park that was going to be a 9-hole golf course. at one time. Is our park still retaining that as part of the park?
No,
That's-
I think it's in the footprint.
Is it still there?
That's not part of our park anymore.
What, you mean, are you talking about above, north of the
No, it's
baseball
west.
field?
It's west of the
Oh.
park. It's a sandwalk. It was gonna be a 9-hole golf course. And it goes to the edge of all of the housing on the circle there.
You mean our sphere?
I don't know if it's still available or retained by them. No, it's just
That's
we took it back.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the project. That original plan. Never implemented. Plan. Moved through the subdivision map out, and a series of 10 or 12 parcels.
Okay.
And at this point, the parcels are all separate. RCRC is one of them. Our park is on one of them. There are 2 and 3 or 4. The remaining parts of that initial golf course concept. Various projects.
I'm just thinking that, you might put the basketball and tennis courts back there as it's not overgrown.
No, actually, the big problem with all those properties, they're all in community forest, various ESHAs, all of the properties, so that's why RCRC after almost 2 decades of chasing the pool, can't do it because so it doesn't look like special land, but there's a lot of.
Oh, I'm sure there is. I just thought, okay, that doesn't have a lot of roots. It might be good for a tennis court and a basketball court. And the last time I saw it, years back, long ago, there weren't really a lot of trees in it. I can see how it could
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks, everybody.
back to the council, on anything else on the parks report? How about? Go ahead.
Just a quick follow-up from the needs assessment. It actually includes 2 items for tennis court. It has resurfaced tennis court listed as 80,000, and that's considered health and safety hazard. And it also has another item, redo tennis court, 150,000 under improvement. Doesn't make a ton of sense to do the first one and then the second one. Or does it make sense to do the second and then the first? Anyway, it's all in the sort of total needs assessment. If you've got the money to do the second one, you could avoid doing the first one. It's all conversations we've had with the architect. And the needs assessment was developed without the expectation that there was going to be a pot of money to state. So I don't know how much it's been revisited in light of that money. I think that's sort of the process they're trying to get to now.
And that's one of the things that Fixed Fire Park would like to achieve, is because we want a relevant needs assessment, post pandemic, like post storm, it only makes sense with $2.2 million, but that can go really fast.
Yeah.
Based on that just there, that's 200 grand just for the tennis court.
Yeah.
It's gonna cost the same amount, to take down all the trees or more, that goes, you have 2 million pretty fast, and that's 2 things.
Okay, no, thanks for all the input on that. We got till about 9, you guys, and we're gonna close down this place. Affordable housing report. That's me.
What about
I don't have anything on that.
Yes.
Am I reading the right agenda?
Yeah, you are.
Economic development report, Kevin?
Just that they're looking at, we're working with Mendocino. They're looking at getting a business meet and greet meeting here.
Is it Mendocino County? Okay, and then we have the GCAP committee. We met, Melissa, Henry, and I with Caltrans and IMCOG on September 28th. wrote up some notes for tonight. Henry, if anything doesn't sound right, let me know, okay? But via Zoom, the Streetscape Committee met the new project manager at Caltrans, which is Katie Everett. The rest of the Caltrans design team attended, as well as MCOG's executive director, Feely Barrett. And there was an associate whose name kind of escapes me. I think his name is
somebody?
I thought it was James, but
Maybe James.
I don't remember the last name. Okay.
James,
Huh?
That sounds right.
James what? Sutney. Okay.
he's with
That's who he was. Okay. So Katie made a PowerPoint presentation. She led the project. She led the update on the project and discussed the differences between the current proposal and the grant application. So she highlighted the purpose of the project, getting on the same page. Funding was addressed, and Melissa, of course, she brought up the landscaping, which we further discussed. Caltrans focused on exactly what they plan on doing and delivering. The original ATP application was referenced. Caltrans shared a summary of some of the inconsistencies, amongst them the new length of a sidewalk, and then plantings in the middle of the project. The proposal now is for the center medians within the streetscape to be hardscape. So at present, it seems like plantings within the medians are unlikely, not even grasses. And apparently there's no entity to take care or to take on the responsibility of a maintenance agreement after project completion, that the state, county, or city. Not even a non-profit would be eligible. That's where I brought up the fact that maybe we could piggyback onto what the county would have to do with maintenance at Bower Park, and maybe we could somehow still have plantings in the median, and that could become part of a maintenance agreement under the Bower Park thing. It was just a crazy idea of mine, I guess, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be feasible. So I think we may end up just having a hardscape.
Yeah, basically, so in order for them to plant it, some official body has to take ownership over that. Doesn't sound like the county can do it. There is no city involved, and Caltrans says that they will not do it. So
I'm still holding out hope that maybe we could get the community service district involved. That's a state agency here locally. Maybe have planting, something to beautify the center of the pavement of the town, and maybe even use reclaimed water or something to that effect, since they have a lot of it. But it takes effort, it takes time, it takes getting after the community service district to see if they want to expand their powers to something else other than just sewer service, and that's a big ordeal. They got their hands full as it is, so I don't know.
Was that communication set up with the whole council, or
What communication?
that you're referencing right
no, this is the communication.
This is the subcommittee meeting with Caltrans that we had
now?
last
And
week.
they gave you a written.
No, this is from my memory.
Okay.
And that's why I asked Henry to correct me if there's anything. I wrote this purposely for our meeting tonight.
They would, by the way, Caltrans would commit to planting and maintaining planting for 1 year, so things can get settled.
Established. Right.
But they would only do that if there were an official body that had legal responsibility for maintenance going forward. And that has to be governmental, it cannot be nonprofit.
Or a nonprofit, yeah. So, but there's a good chance that we can have the decorative stamping that they were showing us at the Arts Center back in May. All the renderings that we saw. And so the other thing was the funding, and there were two funding sources that we've known all along, which is the STIP, State Transportation Improvement Program, and the ATP, the what's the abbreviation on that again? Active Transportation Program. Okay. But the whole project is approximately $2.3 million short, they said. This is attributable to increases in construction bid pricing. And they said something else, and inflation, of course. And also partially due to our remote location, I remember them saying.
That cost has got up higher in remote locations than they have out there. Not new to any of it.
No. So, but by the time the project is delivered, the shortfall could be up to 3 million. And so Caltrans and PennCog are maybe gonna work on splitting that. I remember them saying.
Yeah, Caltrans said they would be willing to keep, I think if I remember correctly, they thought it might be 2.6 million overflow by the time.
Was
all
it?
said and done.
I
It
remember.
was only 3.
I remember 3, but that's what I wrote down.
They said they would eat half of it if they could get somebody else to eat half of it, and seemed like that was a possibility. I don't know further updates on that.
So that's kind of my rendition of what I remember we had discussed at that meeting. So any questions, any further input from you, Henry, on that?
No, I mean, I think that was, I covered, I think, the major points. You know, I mean, I think there's this ongoing question of things need to move in order to hit the timelines that they think that they are more or less on the right time frame. But it's not like they're so far ahead that there's hundreds of billions for unexpected roadblocks. So I hope that none of those pop up.
Question. I've been curious about this project for years. You know, I've heard many different renditions of it. I'd love to, if it's okay, I'd love to get like any email like as to the current scope of the project or what's being proposed, you know, because or if that's isolated to the committee. But I'm just curious, like what's the bullet point sort of scope right now? Do they actually have an approximation of when they want to start and end? And is there going to be a bicycle lane? Is there going to be a center lane? Have all those things been decided on, agreed on?
We should send, I mean, Caltrans put together a whole presentation that they did at the Art Center, in May.
Right.
That's not. We don't have a better document. There are things that have changed since then, but the major points remain the same. So I think it's a really good starting place.
Yeah, I would love to see like.
No problem.
You may come to my office. I had everything back in 1992 when this organization was formed. You may go through any minutes, any maps, any emails I have to catch up on anything.
Okay. That sounds good.
Just really, I don't even have an email. Maybe I do. Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah.
Then email, and I will be happy to open my office to you for as long as you wish to dig through.
That'd be great. I'm really good.
Is it on our website too?
I do think the meeting is, the Zoom meeting is on the website. But I will
Well,
not,
look at that. I mean, there's some information on the website.
yes,
This has to do with the streetscape meeting that we had.
I tried to put Zoom meeting on the website and I've been able to do it. I go to minutes and agendas, but I don't see it listed. Well, but not January, February, etc. I can't seem to find it, so I need some instruction.
We could probably go to the Caltrans website too, but might be better for him to get on some kind of a website to get it catch up on speed rather than go through all the archives. But okay, moving right along, David.
This is a big project, it's super important, and I apologize, but not in the committee, so I'll get back and forth. I've had some conversation in common. The Caltrans will be proposing and step regulation. Something that you be pretty clear about report to Ken and his colleagues. Will be happy. As I have been. Sure that it's not failure. Can't correct it for a project. On the positive side, the project is on schedule. We're expecting project approval and running a document. It's on track. We're reviewing. It's great, and that is the next step in the revenue certification. Fall of 2025. When you guys saw any mapping, have things changed in footprints? Roughly stand.
The 60-foot right away you're referring to?
Yeah, the project footprint you saw, plan of view with the different elements presented.
I don't recall really seeing anything that they.
They're operating. They get all the same right away they want to plan for it.
Right. Is there anybody on this committee who owns private property?
I'm a part owner, yes.
Are you expecting to have any form of real estate transaction in California?
Oh, yeah.
The map showed that Caltrans expects to do some form of real estate transaction. Where I come from, projects that involve financial transactions with particular representatives of the party are by definition. So at this point, we're going to raise the issue that Robert, it appears that you have a conflict of interest. You have been an advocate for the community for a long time. You've been engaged in this project for a long time.
Yeah.
And you've done, I think, a hell of a job. But I'm going to ask you.
I expected this to come up at some point in time from you, and
I'm going to ask you to consider stepping away from the project in order to avoid what is, quite frankly, a very apparent conflict of interest, so that this project has as little risk of anything upsetting between now and delivery. And lawsuits are going to happen. There will be condemnation, take with them. You got to keep it. You got to be professional and straightforward, looking around every corner of the field. It's so important that I would ask you to consider stepping away and using yourself further direct involvement.
You know, it's borne on me for quite some time since I became a part owner back in 2018 of a frontage property on Highway 1. And I have considered it in the past. Yet you all know my history, and I have dedicated myself to this community since I came up here. It was with the sewer project, with the undergrounding project. And always I have separated myself from my personal things with regards to the community. It's been always, I come last, the community comes first. I felt that way on this too. And sure, it's how I'm perceived as maybe having a conflict, but that's never been the case. It's always been for the greater good of the community. Now, so I'm conflicted within myself on whether I should step back or not, but I don't feel a conflict. Okay, so I maybe need to take it up with county council on whether or not I should or not. And I have no problem with that. I've come far enough with this, you know, and work with the community on bettering our community. But I expected it to be brought up at some point, and I will think about it and I'll consider it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it seems straightforward. Like for county council.
I do not want to do anything to jeopardize this. You're right. And if it's looked at as being that because I possibly stand to gain from something like this, it's the greater community that looks. We still have some issues, yes. And Melissa brought it up at the committee meeting too, that one property owner could throw a wrench into this whole thing. And we all know who we're speaking about, right? And I've been wanting to not see that happen, and that's why I've stayed on as long as I can.
So Robert, can I ask you another question to kind of piggyback with Dave's comment about ethics violation or conflict of interest also include a realtor who might be representing either a buyer or seller of property on the streetscape project because they gain a value to their property because of the project? I don't know, that's just a question for county council, but I'm wondering if.
I've worked in this business for over 35 years, dealing with local government, state government, federal government, transactions. And it's really, it has nothing to do with personalities involved, it has nothing to do with. Very objective. And having said that, I would like to have, I would like this issue solved as soon as possible. I'm prepared to advance that question. So, unless somebody else.
I would say based on David's expertise in the area, it's probably the best initial contact county council to discuss the matter, unless Robert, you'd like to contact county council personally.
I said I would, yes.
Okay.
That makes sense.
That's right, then I would say, you know, if you contact county council and identify the issues and see if there is conflict. Or ethics violation.
I was planning on doing that, yes.
Yeah, I think that's the best approach that Robert himself contact. I don't think at this point. Right, I think Robert can go ahead and do that on his own and have a frank discussion with county council about that.
Robert, I gotta ask you to report out.
To what?
Could you please report out?
Report back, yeah.
Yeah, my interest in this project is so important. You have invested so much in yourself and community that really led this project. And I want to make sure each one of us, whatever we can, sure this thing gets built. It's a benefit almost all of them. Very protective of the project. Serious stuff. Thank you.
I know. Okay, well, thanks for all that, you guys. That's
Right, on a different note, but still something that Dave mentioned, so you were at the October 2 MPOG meeting?
Yeah.
So this did not come up at that meeting, is that correct? Okay, because that was, they weren't sure whether they said they were gonna either talk about it October or November. I did not see it on the agenda for the October meeting. Soon, the product.
The topic did come up because I probed the technical meeting for the bottom line, Caltrans is going to submit request to.
It is.
Transportation. Different product.
Right.
Cycle.
Yeah.
Members of the GMAC do this as kind of. Yeah. Including, well, streetscape project. We saw all of the.
Tend to attend,
And I will report.
okay.
Robert,
Mary?
Caltrans addressed, talking with the owners who have property along Highway 1, including.
Yes. After PAED, after the project approval, environmental document has been approved in mid-October.
I'm really concerned about the toll gates that have been threatened to put in. they don't get the one person.
That's still hovering over the whole project.
It's
Yes.
important not to speculate, and not to get too wrapped up in normal speculation. There is a process. I'll try to understand it really well. The first attempt would be, of course, have conversations with them, try to get to a really solid that based on a fair market price. That's great. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes things go through the conversation process. Quite involved. That's what it's time consuming. But it also tends to build better chaos in private property and important. You should expect that some cases will lead to that. Hence, my request, please, everyone, keep our eyes on this project, do everything we can to ensure that this community is behind it. We are aware of things that might be injured or something. Project you can actively and appropriately to work out that getting this done. Yes. I know your job is hard.
But I would not want to see it delayed and money lost.
It's a possibility.
We are at a juncture right now, that possibility, although I would not, anyone, we should pass on. But just stay focused on it and
Please. Ed.
Public comment.
Yeah.
As you may know, the state has this broadband. I'm confirming it broadband for some because we have an estimate of 770 we need. We're getting 56 million, so that's about 7% of the county. But the state is going to put fiber along basically every mile of state highway for our county. They've already started with the section next to Lake. I think that I don't want to get anybody too excited. I think the first two projects for the last mile connecting the actual houses will likely put the wall. And it's not a political decision. We hired the JPA, delegated some of the authority, highlighted this as one of the most viable communities based on density and who's equity, who's not currently served. That happens, it's a big deal for this community. And you're going to have a lot of demand for these sections of the California coast with fiber. The reason I bring it up is as any of us talk to Caltrans, even though it's Caltrans that's doing this work in the next 2 years from trench and lay fiber, it may be that it's a different arm of Caltrans that's doing the streetscape. I would hate for them to have to come back and rip up new roadway to put in the fiber.
We have fiber already in the highway, in the streetscape section.
This was new fiber.
New fiber, okay.
It's state owned.
Yeah.
And the idea is that because the state owns it, will be at cost recovery to providers that want to extend
Okay,
it.
we also prepared for that when we did the undergrounding project. And there was a lot of redundancy, as they mentioned, when they did the joint trench on the east side of Highway 1 through Walala. AT&T put a lot of extra schedule, whatever it is, the PV, the piping. So there's a lot of empty pipe sitting in the joint trench at this point, at this time. And I don't know how far it goes, but I think it may go all the way up to GBS, if I'm not mistaken. Because then they went out of here somewhere with their fiber.
Every step of the way, I think we should all remind them, because I can see the scenario where it's all done, we love it, and then here comes the trencher with fiber.
Yeah,
And that patch job won't be as good as the roadway.
Well, and also, I mean, with that, like when you're opening that main line, there's a question of, fiber to the buildings, like fiber, if it's fiber to the home, then you're talking a hell of a lot more trenching than what's going on just in the streetscape, but I don't know when AT&T laid the fiber originally, but it's probably, as Ted mentioned, it's older fiber, there's some multi-mode fiber, older generation of fiber.
2012.
2012.
And
Yeah.
it's funny you mentioned that because I just had to say this real quick too. Past councils, how hard we fought to try to get the streetscape through at the same time that the undergrounding went in back in 2009 through 2013, and it just wasn't possible to get the two projects to go through. But anyway, we were running up against the clock. We should go on with whatever we still have here in the meeting.
EV charging.
EV on.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to report, other than I've been in contact, with TV Bill, and, said he's gonna have some information to me soon. So we'll see, we're down to just one possible site, and that site doesn't work out, then they'll likely try something else. Other than that, there is a new program, Community in Charge, they call it, put out by the California Energy Commission. And yeah. Okay, this is designed to provide funding to support level 2 EV charging structure in predominantly low income or disadvantaged communities. And California has maps that determines where these communities are, and we are in a low community area. So we would qualify. There's $38 million state funding available, and some example sites where this is designed to be, applied funding grant money: health facilities, workplaces, schools, places of worship, nonprofits like the community center, state, city, county property sites. We don't have any of those here. But, minimum 4 connections, J1772, so level 2. But that could vary between 6 kilowatts up to 19 kilowatts. Minimum is 6.2 kilowatts. Most of the costs eligible for incentives, the EVSC itself, that is the actual charger device, transformer panels, electrical panels, labor materials, planning and design, stub outs, ADA upgrades, pretty much anything related to the cost of installing the charging infrastructure. It won't cover solar panels. Although that beam device that I showed you earlier is a viable option. In other words, the grant money can be applied to purchasing one of those. So the incentive is $3,500 per connector. So if you have minimum 4 connectors for the site, that's $14,000. And level 2 is a lot less expensive than DC fast charging, significantly. And if there's no way to get DC fast charging in our community for various reasons, then we need to go to level 2 and at least something. I mean, if you're driving an EV somewhere, you need to charge. The only thing around is a level 2 you're going to use. And that's what Sea Ranch has. Tesla's parked there, and everybody uses it. So it is a viable way to charge a vehicle, of course. You're not going to get necessarily full charge. From sitting at level 2 charger unless you park there all night long. That, of course, also depends on how big your battery is in the vehicle. And the application window for this is starts November 7th to December 22nd. So we have the information out. There's potential for using these funds in Gualala somewhere. And
who would apply?
Well, I gave you an example of sites. It could be, like the community, or a workplace, a health facility, so like our CMS. Situation there. So it seems to be pretty wide open in terms of where
Those individual entities would have to themselves apply.
exactly.
Right, so you have to get RCMS to apply, you have to get community center to apply,
Exactly.
and there has to be some kind of
Yeah,
coordination between each site that we
The
want.
owner of the property, basically.
So that's basically.
And maybe we could do that. Starting at,
Exactly. Well, this is just the latest grant program from the state. Sure there will be others, moving forward. But, this is what's going to be available shortly.
maybe worth sending it around some of those places.
Yeah, well, if we know of anybody, to me, the best candidate is community. Now, I don't know whether the timing works out, for the community center, if we need something like this, because we're in the middle of rebuilding their facility. That if it does, then it's a way to get a substantial, break on the actual cost of putting in EV charging.
We also got the school in town. School is listed as one of them, I don't know, the fact that it's private rather than public.
I don't think that.
Yeah, just
That's
looking there,
cool.
right there, there's the whole kind of divide property, so that's convenient to everybody, there's not a ton of space with the school there.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, I never thought of that.
Will you please send me this information? So I make that correct.
Yeah, sure.
Thank
Can
you.
do.
Thank
And that's pretty much all I have to report on.
Public comment. I just had,
Just have a comment.
is it under this fund, is it possible to add a surcharge to the energy? So that the entity installing their ongoing revenue source, whether it's community center or fixed hour park.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, if you charge a power park level 2, every time every hour somebody's charging there's the fund for the maintenance of the park.
Yes.
Yes, of course you
idea.
could do that.
Would the county have to apply for that? County property?
That one probably.
Yeah, the county would.
I think we could talk them into that if the community supports.
It is a 4-mile walk from Malala up our park.
Yeah.
About 8 minutes.
But you imagine, the state mandate is to phase out fossil vehicles. They're all going to be EVs, we get close to 2030. Imagine all the visitors coming from here, they'll drive a few miles, hang out at the park. And if that's the means that park is maintained in the long term, when I charge on the Sonoma Coast, I know a few places to charge during the pandemic. Sonoma didn't pay their bill. And so I had to make friends with the hotels. They were the only chargers left and I was stranded. And, I never even looked at what I'm paying. I'm just happy that there is charging. So I think it could be a substantial funding source. And community center, same deal. It'd be a way to provide ongoing support.
Definitely the largest scale at the community center, for sure.
Plus, it's right off the board versus up at the park. But
I agree to the accessibility is key, back in the 20s, like people had to scramble to get gas because the infrastructure was still not there yet. So we're kind of in that similar phase for electric now, but more access.
But, there's all this money coming available, so the question is, can we take advantage of it? Make something happen.
But back to the resiliency that we were talking about with Travis and then using the park for that. Would that be possible, maybe?
Right, but it's 9 o'clock.
Put it on the list, but. So, what else we have to do? The communications committee.
Yep.
Okay, water ad hoc committee, we're doing good on water at the moment. GCC Rebuilding Committee.
Where you demoed, pretty much all the village except the park.
I was wondering, I was like, is the park place gonna stay just for novelty? I think it's built around it and they'll have like full case.
Unfortunately, all the order.
You could have a brick sale.
Yeah.
I tell you, a lot of people want souvenirs, right? Okay, local coastal plan.
How much appetite does this group have at this time?
Well,
Not much.
Not much, okay, let's just say that, wander over to GRI website, GRI hosted an update with Mendocino County, Point Arena. On the local coastal program update, good meeting, a lot of good discussion, a lot of interesting information. Really, for those of you who want to geek out, check out the Point Arena. The other item here. Coastal Commission. Okay. You just have to put, when you're forming up water temperatures in central the Pacific are super high and that's pretty gradual. We have building record report is written really, really well. But the use of these, some of the apps, what's up with it? Has to be- It's pretty.
Okay. Would it make sense to kind of table a discussion of the GLP update until the next?
I have to kind of, I know, it's a big deal and I have to. That would like.
Okay.
Can I request, like, suggest that we move that to the first committee report for next time?
Sure.
Just so that we make sure it has all the time it needs to read.
Okay.
Any objections to that?
No. Move it right up, okay?
Secretary's time is like,
I did. Oh, was.
Okay.
So onward then, we have no permit review assignments that I know of, Mary, right?
None. We have received none for the last week,
that's where
ever since I left office.
Yeah.
On August 29th, we have received nothing but THP report and an TM or in whatever is one that has been granted and given all sorts of, can be redone every time. Because there's one in the South Fork of the Wallowa River that just came in yesterday, but it started with NT. It was an NTMP, but it was an NT whatever, and selected cut. That was right in one of the creeks that's right there in the South Fork. So I didn't know.
They're not supposed to.
New business, I'm not aware of any. Anybody else?
Public comment?
Public comment. Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
two potential future agenda items to consider.
Okay.
One, I get a lot of calls about, well, most of the calls I get are about roads and code violations. That's what I can get with that. But a lot of people ask about corporation. And I can tell you the reasons financially why it doesn't work. But also it should have happened 30 or 40 years ago. That was Motion City. I think the MAC would be the better place to have those discussions. But the discussion, it's framed as we incorporate, maybe discussion about South Coast isn't getting the service for taxes. What do we do about that? How do we make the argument? How do we try to fix some of that? And you expect the whole county will fund disproportionate certain services like the jail, so much. But it may be such a discrepancy in how much you're funding relative to what you're getting. I think it would be good to have that as a public discussion. I think better. And then the other is Measure B. 2 of the top 25 sales tax producers are in your town. Are you getting Measure B services, mental health services? I don't think so. Everyone's paying for that SACF health facility in Kaya, one for the whole county. Fort Bragg is getting some ongoing money to provide services, but Fort Bragg is a mile closer to Kaya than Fort Bragg is to Wallowa. So if you're in Ukiah, you think that covers the coast. I don't think so. I think you have people at this end of the coast that need services and they give up because there aren't any. And I tried working with Bara and he's receptive. I tried working with Paul Anderson. Micheline is the most enthusiastic, but I know she has a lot on her hands right now. GMAC may want to consider discussing what do we have in mind for Measure B before all of these funds are spent.
Yeah, okay, thanks for those suggestions on agenda items. We've had a lot of discussion on the first item, incorporation, so. When Kevin first came on board, on GMAC, we went down that route for a while, and then. The Power Park. Assistance from the county, he took over and we dropped that at that time, but
Temporarily.
temporarily,
We had a conversation about services district, incorporation and.
yeah, there's still.
Annexation came up as possibility point in general, trying to have more of an actual local government here.
Well, CSD is
Great.
still a route we haven't really delved into as much as we could, but
Great kind of encouragement from members of the public.
our supervisor. Okay, so council member comments, we've had enough. Member comments. Mary, you have a report for us?
Yes.
Because Dan's not here.
He has submitted my, invoice before he left for, Italy.
Okay, good.
I worked 14.5 hours in September. Materials were $3.96 for a total of $293.97.
You can't round that up.
I'm sorry.
You can't round that up pretty good.
No, it's supposed to be after. Most of that, since I got back from the hospital around the 16th of the month, I worked the 17th all day to catch up with my September. And then because of all the work that had been piled up and I was curtailed at a certain amount per month, I could not finish some of the little small things that needed to be done. And that included cutting stuff from the ICO for the scrapbook. There were about 63 articles in the ICO from December 1st of last year to the end of September of this year that have now been placed in the minutes book, and it's all caught. I have 2 articles that need to be cut from the last month. Last week, I haven't seen this week, but it's something that has been done since 1992, is watching where GMAC is mentioned in the paper. And I'm very glad to say that 60 some articles about GMAC over the last 9 months, 10 months has been made. Well, and it brings focus on what you do. And it brings it to people from Maine and Massachusetts who are very, very fond of this coast, all the way up to Washington, Oregon, and the supervisors and the state representatives, because they also take paper. So this is you and your work that is there. I just wanted to say 60 some articles isn't bad.
Okay, Mary, thank you.
Yes,
Who
sir.
would like to make the motion to adjourn?
So,
I move that we adjourn.
Okay, Don, second.
Second.
Henry, okay, David.
Yes.
Henry,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
Zachary, Kevin. Adjourn, Kevin adjourn, aye, Robert adjourn, aye, okay.
John moved, I seconded.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. It's so good to have you back.
Hey Ted, thanks a lot for coming, man.
I seconded.